Good morning, everybody. Very good to be with you all. Let's just take a moment to find a heart of peace and stillness in us all. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians. Rejoice. Let your forbearance be known to all human beings. Do not be worried, but in everything, in prayer and supplication, have thanksgiving. And may the peace which passes all understanding keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of truth. And whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is just, and whatever is of good repute. And so think on these things, and let the peace of God be with you all. So a moment to pause and pray. Help us to speak solely from the motives of love and understanding. May we seek the greater glory of humanity. And may us grow closer to each other in understanding and in wisdom. And so we ask for guidance, for understanding and compassion, and above all, wisdom. This we pray in the name of God. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning again, members, and thank you for your attendance today at the October Council meeting. As usual, this meeting will be live streamed to the Essex County Council Democracy YouTube channel. We aren't expecting a fire alarm test today, but if the alarm sounds, everyone must leave the chamber by the nearest door and exit and the fire exit. Go down the stairs to the foyer and into Duke Street. Please then assemble in the grounds of the cathedral. A few reminders about procedure and etiquette in our meeting. As per the Constitution, when any member is speaking, all others must remain silent. We're all here with the best interests of the people of Essex, despite any differences we may have. I expect you to show courtesy and respect to me and to everyone present here today. Please don't talk or whisper when others are speaking. This is very distracting and disrespectful to our colleagues and makes it difficult for others to hear what is being said. Please keep your microphone switched off unless you wish to speak, and take care not to accidentally press the microphone button. Please can I ask everyone here to remain engaged in the meeting and refrain from responding to emails and messages whilst it's taking place. I would like to remind members that we have time limits for speeches in debates. Please stick to them. I will ask members who overrun to stop speaking. This helps me to give every member a fair opportunity to speak. That also includes the questions, and long preambles are not really helpful. The Constitution allows members to choose whether they stand or sit when they speak. It is a matter of your personal choice. We have a list of members who have indicated in advance that they wish to speak today. I intend to call everyone on that list. If during an item you decide you wish to contribute and have not previously indicated, please wait for us to acknowledge your intention before lowering your hand. In that way, we can ensure we don't miss anyone. For any members joining remotely, please can I remind you to remain muted unless I call you to speak. If you do wish to speak, please make your intention clear to officers. Members joining remotely can speak but not vote. A final reminder, please don't eat in the chamber, and please don't only drink water. I hope that you all had breakfast before you arrived this morning. I didn't, by the way, but if you do need to eat during the chamber, please leave the chamber. Sorry, if you eat during the meeting. And please can everyone take all the papers or rubbish with you when the meeting ends. First item is apologies for absence. Can I call on Nicole Wood, the Chief Executive, to notify the Council of any apologies?
Thank you, Chairman. I've been notified of the following apologies for the meeting today. Councillor Harris, Councillor Foley, Councillor Dobson, Councillor Thorogood, Councillor Pond, and Councillor McIver. We're expecting the following to be joining the meeting remotely today: Councillor Lumley, Councillor Blackwell, Councillor Holly Whitbread, Councillor Sheldon, Councillor Dr. Moore, and Councillor Hardware.
Okay. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Are there any interests that members need to declare now? Thank you. Can't see anybody indicating. So, as always, if members realise they do need to declare an interest later on, they should indicate that they need to do so. Thank you. Confirmation of the minutes of the meetings held on the 15th of July, 18th and the 18th of September. I've been advised of a minor addition to the minutes. The reference regarding former County Councillor Ian Gale's service should include the addition "and from 2005 to 2008, Chelmsford West." Please may I ask whether you agree the minutes of these meetings as printed in the agenda with this minor change? Members, are the minutes agreed? Thank you. Item 4 is public speakers. I've not been notified of any public questions for the meeting today, so we will move straight on. The next item is Chairman's announcements. My first announcement today is that one of our care leavers, Tom, was the inspiration for a powerful new musical called The Children's Inquiry, which was based on the real-life experiences of foster children and the fostering system over the years. Tom is one of our care leavers and the team are very proud of him. I'm not sure if anybody wanted to speak on that, but I haven't had any note. The next item is awards. Essex County Council have recently won the Local Authority Recycling Advisory Committee Health and Safety Initiative of the Year, and at this year's LARAC conference for a video addressing abuse at our recycling centres for household waste. Councillor Schweer, I understand you wish to present this award to the council.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And unfortunately, incidents of abuse towards our staff has been increasing over a small period of time. And this award, I think, which is the Health and Safety Initiative of the Year, is very well deserved because 7 of our employees came forward from all of our recycling centres to actually, on a video, to explain the amount of abuse and how it affected their well-being. And what was amazing about this was actually the impact that this has had when it was being shown in the video format, because we had over 40,000 impressions on it. And subsequently from that, we've also put posters around our household waste recycling centres, and we've also increased the amount and offer of training for our staff employees, because it's really important to treat all of our staff at our household waste recycling centres with respect. They are there to do a great job, and they do that. So this award is really about those brave 7 staff that came forward, but also our excellent comms team that have put this video together. And I think it is richly deserved. It has also been well acknowledged by other district and borough councils across as well. And it's had positive feedback from all other employees. So overall, I hope that this is going to reduce those incidents and treat everybody with more respect and kindness that they deserve. So the award is here for everybody to see. So well done to the team. Thank you, and I'll bring it.
Thank you, Councillor Schweer. Next item is cyber security training. Please can I remind... Sorry, I missed your hand, Councillor Stamp.
It's an interference. It's all crackly. You can't hear very clearly. I don't know what the problem is.
Is it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
This one. Yeah. One's working, is it? No, it's not. How's that? Is that working any better? Jolly good. Thank you. The next item then is cyber security training. Can I remind all members that the cyber training session is important and that all councillors are expected to either attend a session or watch a recording. If you watch the recording, please email Sophie Crane or Joanna Bowler to let them know. A further session has been organised for all members, so that if members do not wish to watch back the recording, you're urged to attend the session. Cyber security is of critical importance, and we need your support to keep our residents' data and our systems safe. And I must say that having been hacked myself just recently, personally, if anybody really wants to send me the Amazon vouchers, I'll be grateful to receive them. So thank you. So we now move on to petitions. I've been notified of 2 petitions in advance. Please hold on to the petitions and pass them to officers at the front bench at the break of or the end of the meeting. Councillor McKinley, I believe you have a petition to present. The petition is relating to Billericay Road speeding concerns. Do you wish to present the petition?
Yes, please, Chairman. Thank you. I'd like to present the petition. It has 226 signatures in total. It's been compiled by residents in the Billericay Road and the surrounding areas who have concerns about speeding in that road. There have been a couple of collisions with front walls taken out and general concern with high footfall down there. So I've been asked to pass this on to Councillor Cunningham and also to ask him if he would work with me to encourage enforcement down there so we can speak to the police together. Thank you.
Councillor Cunningham, I think you want to respond.
And thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you to Councillor McKinley for bringing the petition, and thank you very much to the residents for their involvement in that. Very happy to give the undertaking to work with Councillor McKinley and look forward to providing a full response in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Dr. Moore, I understand you wish to present a petition today from residents in South Green, Billericay, regarding the state of the roads, car park and footway at Grand Parade, South Green. I think Councillor Moore is online.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I wish to present a petition signed by over 300 residents and businesses that use Grange Parade, located in South Green, Billericay. Grange Parade is a small parade of shops located in Grange Road, Billericay. It is a well-used facility for residents and includes a butcher, a baker, a pharmacy, a florist, a hairdresser and a Tesco Express. There are 2 retirement complexes near Grange Parade with some 70 residents living within walking distance of the shops. The state of the pavements, roads and parking spaces outside the shops is really rather bad. And we have issues with footway defects, misaligned curbs, carriageway defects, guardrails damaged and so on. The area is very busy with people using shopping trolleys, walking aids, mobility scooters, prams and pushchairs, all of whom must navigate the poor footway services. Mr. Chairman, I would be grateful if the council could take action to improve the area around Grange Parade and address the multiple highway issues that residents have highlighted and reported in this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Cunningham, I believe you wish to respond.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I thank Councillor Dr. Moore for bringing forward the petition on behalf of his residents? We'll certainly look into all the issues raised and give him and his residents a full response. Thank you.
Thank you. Which brings us on to executive statements. Item 7 on the agenda is executive statements, including the autumn budget statement. I understand there are 2 statements today, the first by Councillor Bentley and the second from Councillor Whitbread. The title of both statements is Autumn Financial Statement. Members will first listen to the statements in turn. I will then ask group leaders or their nominated representatives to speak. They will have up to 3 minutes per statement each. totaling no more than 6 minutes. I will then ask members for their questions on the statements. The timer will be used throughout. Councillor Bentley, you have up to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just before I start, we are still hearing a lot of that mic rattle going on. I'm not sure it's coming from, and it might mean some members can't hear as clearly as perhaps they should. So hopefully it's not happening on this microphone. We think it might be emanating from yours, Mr. Chairman. We don't know, but we think it might be. Anyway, just onto what I was going to say. So I won't take 10 minutes. We're at that time of year, as you know, where we have our a traditional financial forecast by the Chancellor of Essex. We've done it now for a number of years. And mine's a simple introduction, so I'm not making a statement today. It's down to Councillor Whitbread to do that. And looking at the economic situation we currently find ourselves in and forecasting for what will be our penultimate budget setting in February. And while we are looking to and forward to local government reorganisation, which will bring the efficiencies and the savings and the service delivery to residents we know we can do better in the 21st century than under the two-tier system. We still are here at the moment, penultimate budget, and we still face those constraints that we have been for a number of years financially as well. We're in a very strong position in Essex and have been for many years, running a very efficient council, ranked number 3 in the country, the top county council in the country as well, which I'm delighted to say. But nonetheless, we have to make sure that we are looking to the future and making sure we have provision, not just for our residents for the next year and the year after that, but also making sure we hand over the responsibilities of this council to the successive unitary councils in very good order. So with that, Mr. Chairman, and with your permission, I'll hand over to the Chancellor of Essex.
Thank you, Chairman. And obviously, as Councillor Bentley just said, we're halfway through this financial year. And of course, it's my opportunity now to update you on how Essex County Council is doing, both financially, operationally and strategically. The headline figures are good. It's positive news. Essex is in a strong and stable position. We are forecasting an overspend of 5.6 million. However, is just 0.5% of our £1.2 billion budget, which is, bearing in mind the current situation, very good. This is an improvement on last year. If you remember back to this time last year, we had a £10 million overspend, but by the end of the year, we brought that budget back into line, and I am confident that we will do the same this year, as we have in all previous years of this administration. I think that's really important to remember. Most services are operating within 1% of their budgets. The only major pressure, as in the previous years, is around social care and children's services. Children's services is of real concern to us all, and we've always been focused on it, where we've seen rising costs for placements and which is creating challenges. But even there, we've taken steps to reduce the impact, and our preventative community-based model is still holding firm. We've also made real progress this year. We've strengthened early help for children and families, expanded support for vulnerable adults, and accelerated our digital transformation programme. The programme isn't just about modernising services. It's about helping us to save money and improve access. We're on track to deliver the savings we committed to, and that's crucial for protecting frontline services. We're always proud of our capital programme here in Essex. We always describe it as being bold and aspirational. On October the 26th, we'll see the opening of Bewley Park Station. And moving forward, we're creating more school places. 380 mainstream places came into operation in September. That's an amazing feat for a council of our size and shows our ongoing commitment to what we're doing. But that doesn't go beyond, it goes well beyond that with our improvements to investing in roads, flood protection and community facilities. These are long-term investments that matter to residents and support growth across the county. Procurement is another area where we're making a real difference. Essex spends over £1 billion every year with suppliers, 60% of them being based in Essex. That means local jobs, and it means opportunities such as apprenticeships, and encourages growth within the local economy. We're also seeing the benefits of social value, whether that be through schemes of carbon reduction, community investment, and fair employment. Procurement isn't just about buying services. It's about making every pound work harder for Essex, and we've certainly done that here. Of course, there are challenges. As I mentioned earlier, children's placements are costing more due to market pressures, and support for children with special educational needs is far exceeding the government funding provided. On SEND alone, we are currently forecasting a deficit of 243 million by 28-29. In the short term, it is confirmed that statutory override for the dedicated schools grant will continue to March 28. However, the medium term, there will need to be a policy change nationally. And of course, we're lobbying for that very strongly. We're also dealing with wider economic pressures. Inflation is still higher than the Bank of England target and seems relatively stubborn. That affects our cost and affects the people we serve. But thanks to strong treasury management, including higher cash balances from maximising alternative funding sources, we're managing those pressures really well. Our position is comparatively strong, and that's down to the choices we've made, the discipline we've shown, and the teamwork across the whole organisation. It's not just one service area on their own. It's all of us working together to make sure we deliver the savings that are required, and where there isn't savings, we find mitigations for them. And while we stay focused on the here and now, delivering services, managing demand, and protecting the most vulnerable, we're also looking ahead. The business cases for local government reorganisation, as we all know, are now with the government, and we await the next steps and their ultimate decision. In the meantime, we're not standing still. We're working closely with our partners across the county to prepare for what comes next, shaping a future that strengthens local accountability, improves outcomes, and delivers better value for residents. Whatever the outcome, our commitment remains the same: to serve Essex well today and effectively deliver a financially sustainable position for the future. As we prepare for the 26-27 budget, our priorities will remain rooted in the Everyone's Essex agenda, our plan for a stronger, fairer and sustainable county. That means protecting frontline services, delivering our transformation savings, using procurement to drive social value and support the Essex economy, continuing to deliver our capital programme, and staying ahead of emerging challenges. There is a budget gap to address, but members can be confident that we have a strong history of always delivering on our savings and efficiencies. We await the outcome of the government's fair funding review and introduction of a multi-year funding settlement, something we've been calling for many years. And hopefully that will now happen in 26-27. Although the impact on ECC is uncertain, it will enable us to plan better and in turn improve our ability to serve our residents. Members, we are delivering for Essex today, we are planning for Essex tomorrow, and we are reshaping the council to be fit for the future, match ready financially, operationally and strategically. This is a moment for us all to stay steady, stay focused and deliver on the future. And here at Essex County Council, you can be sure we will have our finances in order as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitbread. Up to 6 minutes, 3 minutes per statement are now available to each opposition group leader or their representative to make a statement in reply to the subject of the statements. I've been informed that the following members wish to speak. Councillor Henderson, you have 6 minutes to speak on the statements.
Thank you, Chairman. And can I first of all congratulate the Essex Chancellor? He's actually had more people in this chamber than his shadow Chancellor had when he gave his speech in the conference centre just a little while ago. So congratulations, you've got a bigger audience. Chairman, the Chancellor mentions things have made a difference, and he mentions that about government funding, he will recognise the government has already delivered £4 billion in additional funding for local government, with 1.3 billion targeted through local government finance settlements. Crucially, this funding is directed to areas of greatest need, using deprivation indices to ensure fairness and impact. Chair, hopefully we will soon see an end to the days of competitive bids. Labour's Pride in Place programme is allocating funding directly to deprived areas, £5 billion over 10 years, with no costly bidding process, just support for where it's needed most. On children's services, because he mentions the pressure on children's services, he will know the government has committed £1.1 billion to reform children's social care, including £555 million to prevent children from entering care unnecessarily and £25 million to boost foster care recruitment. It's about early intervention, better outcomes and fixing the broken market. And it talks about intervention, and it makes us wonder now what would have happened if we'd have still had those 74 children's centres, Sure Start centres open, delivering that intervention and possibly alleviating some of those areas of deprivation for children. In just a few months, the Labour government has lifted 100,000 children out of poverty, mentioning many children and families throughout this, helping many children and families throughout this county. I remember the members opposite, when we called for it on these benches, to actually support the extension of free school meals in schools, and every member opposite voted against that. I'm pleased the government's now delivered on that. Reversing a shameful trend, this saw child poverty rise by 700,000 under the previous government. I'm sure the Leader and the Chancellor also welcomes, like the Better Future funds worth 500 million, are helping vulnerable children with early support, mental health and education. And again, I'm sure he'll also welcome the government has also committed for 740 million for SEND and alternative provision and 2.1 billion to improve school conditions. And on the issue of, as the Leader mentioned, about local government reorganisation and devolution, it's about, he knows, it's about partnership, a national government partnership that local government has needed for a long time. A government that listens, invests and trusts councillors to deliver. A government that sees council not as cost centres, but as engines of opportunity, delivering a brighter future for residents. Chair, that's my response, and I'm sure, as the Chancellor said, things are not as bad as he thought they'd be, and surely he recognises that it's because we've got a Labour government now delivering for local government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor King, I understand you are representing the Liberal Democrat group. You have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. So use least 5, well, perhaps 2. Thank you very much indeed for the statements this morning. We all recognise here that halfway through is clearly not the close of the year, but this is an encouraging statement, and it shows what all of us in this council and this chamber could take some collective pride in, that this is a well-managed authority, and that's the sum of all of us and our officers. The challenge that we give each other, the encouragement we give each other in this place and elsewhere to deliver well for the people of Essex. So I welcome what is, in our eye, also a strong and stable position, and a shortfall or an excess which looks manageable by year end given past performance. So all credit to those involved from our perspective, to the finance staff in particular, who have been very effective in their briefing to us and the insights that they give. Just a few points to bring out from our perspective. We note the social care demand and the pressures within children's services in particular, which might require policy interventions and a change of approach. The model we have, it would seem, is being exploited by those who provide those services, and we should look for better, and this should have, in my view, support across the chamber. I think it's right to acknowledge that the government of today has done some things which are helpful for local government, not least less funding pots, although I have to say Pride in Place is another funding pot. But in the round, there are some good things which have come out of Whitehall, and that's always nice to acknowledge. But you have to acknowledge also that their macroeconomic product is not really one that will give us much comfort, is it? It includes things which hurt, like national insurance, which ripples through the costs of our suppliers, as well as an impact on the cost of our own employment, step by step, and by the ways in which inflation and interest rates, which are as much influenced by anybody within their purview. So the macroeconomic position is not one that's going to be helpful to this council. And I urge us all collectively, when we have the opportunity, to do what we can, whatever our politics, to pipe up for better, frankly, because we need it for our residents. We need it as a local authority that has such an influence on the lives of people, not least in social services. Finally, a cooperative spirit's going to be needed, isn't it, as we get closer to LGR. So I urge the Chancellor of Essex and all those around him to bear in mind as we proceed the importance of what inheritance and legacy there is for the new unitary authorities, to do more, as much as we can, more than we perhaps have had to in the past, to talk through the choices as we get closer to making them, particularly on capital investments and projects that will be the responsibility of others to deliver or to take through, and to give a priority for those investments where we can in the choices that lie ahead for this local authority. There are also ways in which we could work together cross-party, not least in pressing central government to ensure that the 2028 position onwards, including DSG, is as robust and as helpful as possible. The pressures are enormous in parts of your budget, our budget, and we need government to play their full part, not least in continuity with DSG and Overrun. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Now call upon Councillor Hoy. You have 6 minutes on the statement.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome the opportunity to respond to the executive statements. While it is right to recognise areas of progress, it's equally our duty to give residents the full picture, not just a selective snapshot presented today. Essex County Council is described as being in a strong and stable financial position, yet a forecast overspend of 5.6 million halfway through the year is not, in truth, a sign of financial comfort, particularly when we know that this figure has only been achieved through one-off measures, service underspends, and the delaying of essential projects. Residents deserve transparency, not complacency. Let us be clear. Our greatest financial pressures remain in children's services and SEND, areas directly affecting some of the most vulnerable children in Essex. These pressures are not new. They are a result of years of underinvestment, slow response to increasing demand, and a failure to confront systematic issues. Parents are still fighting to get EHCPs on time. Children are being sent out of the county due to a shortage of local specialist places at huge expense to the taxpayer and even greater emotional cost to families. We also hear claims of savings linked to digital transformation and early help services, but residents in Essex will rightly ask savings at what cost? The capital programme is mentioned with pride, but progress is uneven. Yes, 360 school places are welcome, but they fall short of the growing need, particularly in high growth communities like Harlow, Chelmsford and Colchester. Major infrastructure schemes continue to slip and overspend, leaving residents stuck in traffic, communities waiting years for promised investment. The statement also pointed to economic pressures, yet this council continues to pursue costly restructuring, expensive consultancy contracts and vanity communication projects instead of protecting frontline services. Too much money has been swallowed by bureaucracy and PR. Finally, we heard talk of planning for the future and financial sustainability, but this rings hollow when the administration refuses to commit to protecting key local services from further cuts. refuses to confront the fragile state of adult social care funding, and refuses to stand up to central government for a fair funding deal for Essex. So let me be clear, Essex does not need glossy headlines, it needs honesty, investment in people, and a budget built around real community priorities. Support for children with SEND must be a priority, not a problem to be managed, and I think that's recognised in your speech. Prevention and early intervention must be properly funded, not simply talked about. Frontline services must be protected, not eroded, and residents must be put first, not last. We'll continue to hold this administration to account because the people of this county deserve better.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. Councillor Bentley or Councillor Whitbread, do you wish to respond to the statements made in reply? You have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, thank you to the councillors for their comments. Let me start with Councillor King. I think you made some really good points there. And of course, we look forward to working together across the chamber as we move forward with LGR and challenging financial situations. So they were really helpful comments. Councillor Henderson, with regards to the biggest challenge I think we face as a council, the good thing is that this is a council that has opportunity at its heart. That was the whole basis of the Everyone's Essex programme that's been going now for the time of this administration and delivered real benefits to us. The real danger to this council is the economic environment that we're living in. And Councillor King picked up on national insurance, but of course, we all welcome the increase in the living wage, but of course that has an impact on us as a council as well. And it has an impact into the future. We also look at our small companies across Essex that are suffering because of the national insurance hike, hurting Essex, hurting us, and hurting the people of Essex. That really doesn't help us at all. And of course, it's a government that is over-borrowing. It's a government that isn't taking financial discipline as seriously as what it should do. So we have got problems with the government, and there are problems economically. Councillor Hoy, I think we must be living in a different council. This is a council that is never complacent. And that is why last year we increased the budget for children's services and made sure that it was well provided for, because this council takes the most vulnerable seriously. That was the first thing that the leader of council said when he took over as leader at the beginning of this administration. Vulnerable people were always at the heart of everything we do. But of course, we always make sure, don't we, that we never spend a penny of residents' money unless it's absolutely necessary. We make sure that we're running an efficient council, an effective council, and a socially aware council. And that is why we have done so well over the past decade here. That is why we believe in financial discipline. That is why we will continue to deliver for the people of Essex and businesses of Essex. And that is why we're working hard on everyone's behalf.
Thank you, Councillor Whitbread. Members now have the opportunity to ask questions in relation to the statement made by the leader and the Chancellor of Essex on the subject of the executive statement. Please only ask your questions on this statement. Any other questions can be asked as oral questions later on in the agenda. Please keep the preamble to a minimum. I shall allow a period of up to 10 minutes for questions and have asked for the timer to be used. Do I have anybody who wishes to ask a question? Councillor Stamp.
I would like ask a question of the Chancellor. I take on board everything you've said. I totally disagree with the investment of SEND children and I always get it right, educational healthcare plans. I can't say too much because it's coming to the PATH committee and there will be an update which every member will be allowed to attend. But I'd like to ask the question, what investment has been made regarding SEND or any investment in my division? You maybe can't answer it off the top of your head, but since standing here now for 5 years, I've seen very little investment where I am. I've seen reductions. I'll give them a minute because you said not to speak. Yeah, okay. I'll give them, you see, it always throws me, Chairman. Every time I've got to that age, I do apologise, members and everybody. I've seen reductions in the bus services. I've seen we haven't got the special needs school in the Malden district for the seniors. I understand there's been investment in Malden itself, but not out where I am in the Dengie. And I will continue to raise this as long as I've got a breath in my body and I stand in this chamber, because we all pay our council tax And I don't normally be mean to you, but when you turn around and say that everybody's got the investment and send has improved, it maybe has improved under this for a couple of years. Excuse me, am I getting barracked again? I will be putting a complaint in if it continues from that councillor. Do you know this? I find it so infuriating. You can't concentrate, Chairman. So I don't agree with what you're saying about the send. And I'd actually ask you if you can address that and apologise, because he has thrown me off track again. He needs to have some manners in this chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Councillor Whitbread, do you wish to respond?
Thanks, Chairman. I will start and thank Councillor Stamp for a question, because she's always a passionate campaigner for the Dengie and Malden. So I'd like to thank Councillor Stamp first of all. And of course, whenever you're dealing with budgets and making sure that money gets apportioned to the right places, we do our best. And I know from the point of view of Send, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Ball in a moment, because such substantial efforts have gone into that over the past couple of years to improve the situation there. And I know Councillor Ball has been at the heart of that, and he may have some more detailed help in responding.
Chairman, if I may say, thank you. Yeah, I can't give you specific Dengie figures. I will, if we can disaggregate them, I will forward them on. But we have invested £5 million into Send since over the last 18 months, mainly on extra educational psychologists. And that has made a difference and helped us to improve, with some changing in working practices as well. I need to add that. But that's the overall figure for Essex that we have invested in Send.
Thank you. And thank you for the questions and the responses. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to everybody for keeping well in time. We're moving on fairly rapidly. Which brings us to motions next. We've received 3 motions today, and they will be taken in order received. Please note the changes and amendments as per your order paper. The motions are as follows. From the Conservative Group, stop the taxi tax, moved by Councillor McKinley and seconded by Councillor Lewis Barber. From the Liberal Democrat Group, a bee pollinator friendly Essex, moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Corey, and amended by Councillors Barker and Schwier. And from the non-aligned group, dyslexia in Essex, moved by Councillor Hoy and seconded by Councillor Stamp, and amended by Councillors Newport and McCrory. Please can I ask all members to stick to the time limit. This ensures everyone who wishes to speak has the opportunity to do so.
Chairman, apologies, but before we get on to the motions, we do have this persistent issue with the microphones, and I'm not sure what that's meaning for the broadcast. And it's also for everyone to sit here for the next 3 hours. It is quite difficult. Could we maybe just take a minute to check before we proceed, please?
With it, I've been trying to, I don't know whether it's these microphones, because I can hear you perfectly. I'm not sure you can hear me, which is not good. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There seems to be an issue with sound and interference coming from the speakers in the woodwork. I've been advised that an engineer could come in, but it would require an adjournment of the meeting for them to come in, because clearly we cannot carry on speaking while they're working on the system.
In which case, I'm not sure whether I should turn the microphone on or not, but I would suggest that because of the importance of the motions, we perhaps take a short break to allow that work to happen, because it would be in the interest of everybody to do that.
Mr. Chairman, can we check the broadcast as well? That's
yes,
clear.
Yeah.
It might be just.
So, shall we have an adjournment for say 10 minutes to have a comfort break and a
No sound.
Thank you, Chairman. Shortly after the government won the last general election, we were presented with a £40 billion tax raid on the UK. That's increases in national insurance, reduction in the threshold at which it kicks in, VAT on school fees, business rates for independent schools, and of course, the short-sighted and dangerous family farm tax. But we were also told it was a one-off, it was a reset, and I quote, "We will never need it again. I'm not coming back with more tax increases or borrowing." Fast forward, and in 43 days' time, we will be hearing again from the Chancellor with expectations that she will be looking to plug a £30 billion black hole. The failure of the government to get a grip of the welfare state is just one reason as to why, once again, she will be looking at tax increases. And mark my words, colleagues, she's coming for more. And one of those is the extension of VAT that's been mooted, the so-called taxi tax. And the reason that we have to raise this now, and I hope everyone can come together on the motion, is because we do not have the luxury of waiting to see whether it goes forward and then fighting for another U-turn as we had to for the winter fuel allowance. We need to make sure that it simply doesn't happen. I've been contacted by the trade who are concerned for their livelihoods. People have written to the Chancellor with worries about the fares being pushed up. Representatives in hospitality and also the Nighttime Industry Association have all made representation against this. And remember, this is an industry which is still reeling from the nicks from last year. Commuters, those on shift work, the very people that we all rely on each and every day, working people, are all raising concerns about what this would mean. I've spoken to disability groups, and over 70% of them have said that their members have used private taxis for medical reasons. And of course, those who live out in the rural areas. Because members, for many in Essex, taxis aren't a luxury, they're a lifeline. And we know that any VAT extension wouldn't just be bad for cabbies, it would be bad for carers, commuters, and communities. So I ask today that you just echo the words of Cameron Malik, the CEO of the Disability Rights UK, who said increases in fees will make it harder for vulnerable people to access essential services. So on behalf of our businesses, our residents with mobility issues, shift workers, lone travellers, commuters, working people, I hope that we can all support the motion today and send that strong message to the government that increasing VAT on taxes will have a profound effect, not just on those who rely on it for their livelihoods, but for those who rely on the service for their independence, their businesses, and the prosperity of our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKinley. We now come to the debate, and individual members have a chance to speak, each of whom will have 3 minutes to speak to the motion. I understand that the motion covers the portfolio of Councillor Cunningham, and he will have up to 5 minutes to speak if he so wishes. The first person I've got is Councillor Plale.
Thank you, Chairman. So the history of taxi and hire cars undoubtedly comes from serving nobility and those with the means to pay. However, taxis today provide a vital, not a luxury, lifeline to the disabled and those whose conditions or geography mean that no other public transport is available. Each day, countless taxis and specially adapted vehicles ensure disabled children get to their place of education. Each day, taxis ensure disabled people the equal opportunity to go to work or take part in the nighttime economy. Each day, taxis ensure disabled people can make it to health appointments or receive vital treatment. And it may only be one day of the year, but each year our own county plays host to East London cabbies who drive children with severe learning difficulties or disabilities for an enjoyable day out on the Essex coast. Keir Starmer said in his conference speech that growing the economy was the #1 mission of government, which suggests that he may have forgotten the 4 other missions or pillars that he started with. And one of those was breaking down barriers to opportunity. Introducing a 20% VAT on taxi fares creates a barrier to opportunity. It will disproportionately impact disabled people and impede them from playing their full part in society. Attending education, work and social events would suddenly become more costly. The Chancellor's 2024 budget did incredible damage to the UK economy, and if I was to be charitable, it resulted in many unintended consequences she did not foresee. This motion alerts the Chancellor to the undeniable but highly damaging consequences that introducing a taxi tax would create. It would create a tax on being disabled. It risks disabled people losing what independence they have and becoming socially isolated. I would urge this council to support the motion, recognising the genuine concerns that our disabled community have towards this proposal and highlight our strong opposition to a taxi tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Plough. Councillor McGarren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My microphone is suitably erect. It's just a shame Jamie McIver's not here to witness it, but there you go. Such is life. I thought it was funny. I don't care. I'd like to give credit where it's due. So I'm going to give credit to the Conservative group opposite for once. I know I don't do that often. Then again, there's very few reasons to. I'd like to congratulate you on just 15 months into the Labour government, running out of things to criticise this government for, and now having to reduce yourself to conjecture. So congratulations, well done. You've run out of things to criticise the Labour government for after just 15 months. That's quite an achievement. So the key thing about this motion is considering, the word considering, right? Let's have a think about that. The government is duty bound to consider all options. That's what governments do. That's what, as a council, we're supposed to do. So why you feel the need to pass a motion about something that it may or may not be being considered, I really don't see any logic to that. This is the same Conservative group, same Conservative administration, as Councillor Henderson has already pointed out, refused to write to the previous government asking them to extend free school meals to all families on universal credit. You wouldn't do it because it was not in your remit. You didn't have the authority to influence the government, but now you can influence the government on something they may or may not be considering. Don't worry about the free school meals. The Labour government saw to it, like it's seeing to other things as well. The rank hypocrisy of the cabinet member talking about disabled people, and almost in the same breath, and Councillor Plough talking about disabled people, but then Councillor McKinley joyously relishing the prospect of welfare cuts. Do you not see any contradiction there? Is there no irony involved at all there? I'll tell you one thing. This side of the chamber, well, this little bit of the chamber here, we will not countenance welfare benefit cuts. It's not on the agenda, not while there's breath in my body, as someone said earlier. We will not countenance it. And things you might want to think about, you're talking about low-paid workers. Yeah, absolutely low-paid workers. Most of the benefit payments go to support low-paid workers, right? That is a fact. And that's because the capitalist system is broken and it needs fixing. The Labour government has made a start. I'd like to see it go further, but this motion is laughable and it should never have been allowed in the first place, because if it had been this group bringing it, The monitoring officer would not have allowed it. So I would like to ask the monitoring officer to think who he's serving, the people of Essex or the administration.
Thank you. Councillor King. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, let's wind the clock back for a moment on this issue. The VAT concern started with a High Court ruling in 2021 and then again in 2023. Private hire operators liable for VAT on fares potentially increasing prices to 20%. The previous Conservative government, your government, did nothing to protect the industry. Instead, they launched a consultation on 18th of April 2024, just months before leaving office, leaving thousands of drivers and firms in limbo. Question to the mover and seconder: why didn't you bring this motion to last year's May full council meeting while that consultation was taking place? Another question: the consultation ended in August 2024. Did this council respond to the consultation? If so, can you provide members with copies of the submission? Chair, let's be clear. The Labour government has inherited yet another fine mess from the previous Conservative government. Instead of dealing with this very important issue, they buried their heads in the sand and let the taxi businesses down. Chair, unlike its predecessor, the Labour government is taking the issue seriously. They are reviewing the consultation findings and exploring fair solutions and to protect drivers, passengers and small businesses. Let's be clear. This isn't just mismanagement by the previous Conservative government, it is neglect. And Chairman, the motion refers to compromise and personal safety. Can I remind members opposite of the Deregulation Act in 2015? It allowed drivers to obtain licenses from any local authority. It resulted in even more pressure being put on traditional taxi firms and operators under weaker standards. It undermined local safety standards and stripped councils of power to enforce quality and accountability. It's been recognised by the Mayor of Manchester as saying that the government needs to readjust this and close these loopholes. And it's also been mentioned by Baroness Casey because of the fear of abuse and sexual offences within taxis. It was a policy that put cost cutting ahead of safety. Finally, Chair, the motion calls on the government to confirm its position on this issue as soon as possible to avoid any further anguish. Once again, let me remind the mover and seconder, your previous Conservative government should have made a decision before being kicked out of office, but they didn't. Chair, I am confident that this Labour government will make the right decision and support the taxi industry, and not just as a business, but as a public service. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Wiles.
Thank you, Chair. Somebody who lives with limited mobility, I like so many others in my position, I rely heavily on private hire taxis to get around. For us, they are not a luxury, they are a lifeline. I cannot use public transport without affordable, accessible alternatives. Maintaining my independence would not simply be possible. In fact, I came here today using one of those very services which underlines how vital they are to everyday life. I'm very pleased to support this motion because it speaks directly to the really people like myself. We need to be able to keep such services affordable, and the consequences of not doing so are clear. Higher fares are disproportionately impact on disabled, older citizens, carers, those of low incomes. But I speak not only for myself, but the voice of those who cannot be here to share the stories. People who attend these services, who rely on these services to attend medical appointments and to see the family, or simply to live their lives with freedom and choice. We must stand up for them. Okay. Right, sorry, for them and the livelihood of the drivers, and ask for the promotion of personal independence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wiles. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Being 6'3", I should have no problems with the spike in my cake hole, as we might say. If you're going to take on reform with conspiracy theories, leave the experts at conspiracy theories reform, because you're not going to be able to outdo them on this issue. Just think on the practicalities before you think on the politics. If they was to bring VAT on cab fares, I know what people would do. They'd ask for a particular cabbie, or if they knew a regular cabbie, and they'd say, how much the fare for cash before they get in a cab? Right, so if the fare was £10 with £2, say VAT, the government wouldn't get the VAT, and the government wouldn't have that £10 fare declared. So you just be boosting the black market. Why would any sensible chancellor, let alone Whitehall advisor in the Chancellery, advise the Chancellor, let's think of a new tax that will earn the government less taxes? It's not going to happen. It's just totally unworkable. This is why I say this is conspiracy theory beyond. And we don't know about these things until the Sunday before the budget, when Whitehall starts leaking these things out on the Sunday briefings just to test the water and then run with it. And why would the government risk the political backlash for the small amount of VAT they will generate? They will not. I tell you, the VAT that is crucifying people, when the party opposite could have done something when we voted for Brexit. Because you remember that grey, treacherous git John Major was in Downing Street? He stabbed Thatcher in the back. She would never have took us into Maastricht and got us out of the EU. But anyhow, he put VAT on energy bills. It is not a luxury to keep warm in this freezing island in winter. It is not a luxury. I am no fan of Tony Blair, but all he could do under EU rules was reduce VAT to 5%. And I think, Councillor Henderson, you had the pleasure at the time of reducing VAT on everyone's energy bills. But when we voted for Brexit, and Brexit was done in name only with dear old Boris, he never gave us Brexit, you could have taken VAT off everyone's energy bills. And with the rip-off prices of energy at the moment, you could have done the right thing. So you come here today and saying, the government could, it's considering it, may not, put VAT on cab fares. It's just conspiracy theory from your side. You have no evidence to back it up. When you could have done something about VAT on everyone's energy bills, just abolished it as soon as we left the EU. It would have been legal and lawful and the right thing to do. And the proposal of this motion criticises this government's chancellor, that I'm no saying she's any kind of angel. But for 14 years, what did you do to the economy? You made your own richer, and it's took a Labour government to prosecute the business of people selling duff PPE equipment. But that's what we're going to find out now, is this previous government feathered their own nest and coming here today with all crocodile tears. Silly, very silly. Leave conspiracy theories to reform. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Corey.
Thank you, Chairman. We, the Lib Dems, would oppose a taxi tax if it were to become real. However, Chairman, we do think there should be a tax on hypocrisy in this chamber, as it does happen too often. Writing to the government was something we weren't meant to do when the Conservative Party was in power in central government, but now that has clearly changed, and this is what the party opposite want to do. I believe the root of this does come from some of the court cases around Uber over the last 5 years. And again, during the Conservative Party's in power, and something could have been done then. I do feel that something would need to be tackled if it was to actually come onto the Chancellor's books. We would need to stand up, because the points that have been made about accessibility, residents who really need taxis and businesses who rely on them would need to be supported. But companies like Uber have worked around the system of providing taxi fares, and they make £9.8 billion globally each year. They should be taxed. Large corporations should be taxed. I agree with that. We do not want taxes on small and medium-sized businesses affecting small or local taxi firms. So I agree that would be terrible. But talk about those with disabilities and those most vulnerable in our society does bring me back to thinking it is the Lib Dems who would support those carers. We are the ones who do not want PIP and other disabilities benefits to be cut. And actually the other two parties have carried out those cuts. So we would not be hypocritical on that matter either, talking about the plight of those disabled people who we would actually support much better through the system, not just giving them a slightly cheaper taxi fare. So it does not seem to be real and on the government agenda tomorrow. So I do feel that this is almost a waste of time discussing it at this point. But I do want to support those who are least able to get around our county. We can do that through other ways, through other public transport support, but also, as mentioned by a few others, we could start taxing bankers properly. We could start taxing the windfall on profits and support energy bills for our poorest. We could tax bigger corporations and social media companies to pay for the damage they cause in our country. That's what we should be taxing, Chairman. That's what we believe.
Thank you. I haven't got anybody else who's indicated, so we're coming to the end of debate. Sorry, Councillor Durham. Hadn't got you, but I'll call you now.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I rise in support of this Conservative motion. Taxi services are an essential element for the economic success of our town and city centres, particularly in respect of restaurants and hospitality businesses. And sadly, we are seeing the biggest failure rate for restaurants and cafes in many years. And high taxation is the main reason for the decline. This is why the Conservative Party announced it would cut business rates for many hospitality businesses at its conference last week. I have 45 years in the catering sector, so understand the issues very clearly. The average net profit for restaurants, believe it or not, varies between 2 to 5%, even before interest on loans and depreciation and corporation tax, etc. Hospitality is one of the biggest VAT generators for the government, as their sales are subject to 20% tax, but most of its raw materials and food is zero rated. It also has it's a labour-intensive industry, thus contributing a great deal of income tax and, of course, the outrageous employers' national insurance introduced by the Labour government. An average staff cost is seldom less than 20 to 25% of sales, often more, which is higher than most business sectors. Chairman, the crude facts are if you take your wife or partner out for a restaurant meal and the bill at the end is £100, by the time VAT is paid, the cost of ingredients, staff wages, energy costs, rents, business rates, insurances and other overheads are taken, the restaurant will be lucky to have at best £5 left. And then they have to cover depreciation and corporation tax, etc., EBITDA in accounting terms. The government, on the other hand, gets £20 VAT from that meal, plus the income tax from staff wages, and of course the NICS contribution, not to mention all the other indirect taxes from service suppliers and services. And I doubt that there are many other business sectors that have such a disproportionate rate of return, where the government gets nearly 10 times more income than the hospitality business owner. The impact on taxi costs will reduce the number of people choosing to go out to restaurants, or more people will drive and not consume alcohol, which is one element of a restaurant that's more profitable. Net result, more business closures and gaps on the high street. Please support this motion to preserve our high streets, nighttime economy and hospitality businesses across the county.
It's time this sector gets a better deal from government with a cut in turnover taxes and the penal costs of employing staff. Unless something's done soon, we're going to see more restaurants and hotels close, leaving gaps on our high streets and hotels converted to other uses. Only the Conservatives understand why this is happening, and they are the ones promising real help with a cut in business rates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durham. I should just quickly ask whether anybody else wishes to speak. I can't see anybody indicating. So we come to the end of the debate, and I'll call on Councillor Barber to exercise their right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've heard in the chamber so far on this debate that we're both being criticised for bringing this motion at this point and not bringing it early enough. Now, I want to be part of an administration, a party that makes sure we tackle these issues before they come to fruition, rather than reacting subsequent to their introduction. And that's why I think it's important for us to bring this message to this chamber, because the trade are raising this with councillors across the county as an issue and a concern, and we want to try and nip it in the bud at this point of time, not wait until after the policy may be introduced and then have all of the concern and disruption to our local tradesmen and women and the economy and the impact that has. I want to make sure we send a message to the government now that this is going to have an impact on our local economy, an economy that's already reeling from tax increases by this government. Look at the unemployment news today that's come out, the inevitable from National Insurance. And Councillor Smith, you'd be quite right to say no sensible chancellor would introduce such a policy. But unfortunately, we don't have a sensible chancellor, Mr. Chairman. We have a chancellor who increased national insurance in the face of clear evidence by their own experts, by their own analysis, they would increase national insurance. And that is what we're going to see come through with further tax rises. And we want to stop this one before it gets traction with the government. And it is noteworthy that the Labour councillors, how many times did they actually mention VAT? Because they know inside that this policy would damage our local economy and the most vulnerable residents in our county. They have no answer to it. That's why we heard such conjecture. That's why we barely heard the word VAT in their speeches, because they know this will be a damaging policy. But they have to close ranks ahead of the national budget, and they know that there's more tax rises to come. And they know, despite their ideology, that this is going to have an impact on working people and our local economy. We're here to send a message at the earliest opportunity that we believe this tax rise is wrong. I believe basically every tax rise is wrong, but this is the one that is clearly coming up on the agenda. We've already heard it in briefings about VAT. We stand by our manifesto commitment currently. Well, that's a troubling word if I've ever heard one, Mr. Chairman. So, yes, you're right, Councillor Smith. No sensible chancellor would introduce this policy. But my fear is that this is coming down the line. Thank you, you revolutionary, for upending the socialist system by saying, oh, we'll increase VAT on taxi drivers and the vulnerable. I don't think that's particularly revolutionary or socialist. You did say you wanted to upend the capitalist system, which sounds quite revolutionary. And you wanted to upend it. So I don't believe that this is going to assist the lowest in our economy, lowest paid in our economy. I don't believe it helps vulnerable, and it certainly doesn't help the taxi trade who are raising this with us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody who's spoken. I'll now put the motion to the vote. Those for? Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? I think the motion is carried. Thank you. We now move on to the second motion, but just before we do, I just would ask again if people could refrain from speaking while others are giving their speeches, because it is disconcerting, and I think it's unfair to people of all parties who want to speak. So we move on to the motion, a bee and pollinator friendly Essex. I can call upon Councillor Robinson as the proposer of the motion to move the motion and set out as set out in the agenda, but do not make your speech at this point.
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Corey, as seconder of this motion, please purely confirm that the motion is seconded and let me know whether you wish to speak at the beginning or the end of the debate.
Seconded, Chairman, and I'll speak at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. I've received notice of one amendment from the Conservatives and to be moved by Councillor Barker and seconded by Councillor Schweer. Councillor Barker, to formally propose the Conservative amendment, but do not speak, make your speech yet. Thank you. And Councillor Schweer, as seconder of the Conservative amendment, please just second the amendment to the motion and let me know whether you wish to speak at the beginning or the end of the debate.
I second the amendment and reserve my right to speak at the end.
Thank you. We now move to the debate on this motion and the amendment. So I call upon Councillor Robinson to speak to the motion. Councillor Robinson, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm really pleased to be moving this motion this morning. We hear a lot about climate change, but we have less about the catastrophic loss of insects, bees, butterflies, and other wildlife that we've seen over the last generation. I'm sure we all used to remember driving cars around in the summer and having to stop to clean the windscreens for bugs, and you do that so much less than you used to because of the decline in those insects, etc. But this isn't some airy-fairy concern, woke or whatever you want to call it. As the motion says, bees and other pollinators play an essential role in the Earth's ecosystem. They're absolutely vital to the food that we eat. If it's not for bees and other pollinators moving around the countryside and pollinating our plants, then we won't have food to eat in generations to come. And the number of bees is in massive decline, and some species have become extinct. There is a real impact on our food supply and the rest of the environment. So what do we need to do about it? First of all, we need to recognise the scale of the problem. Secondly, we need to set clear objectives and a policy with clear objectives. And we then need to act and actually make a change, not just talk about it. That's what we've done at Liberal Democrat-led Chelmsford City Council. The first thing we did after taking control in 2019 was a climate and ecological emergency declaration, something which the party opposite have refused to do here every time we've suggested it. We are amending our local plan to introduce 20% biodiversity net gain in large parts of our district. Now, BNG is a bit of a jargon phrase, but what it basically means is developers must leave development sites significantly better off in environmental terms than when they arrived. Actually, that's not difficult in many of our monocultural fields, but that's something that we can actually do through policy. And another really practical thing that we're actually doing, we now have a beehive on the roof of the city centre, and we have planted bee-friendly plants in Central Park. So the bees can just whiz across and pick up the pollen and return to the hive. And if you want to buy some Chelmsford City Council honey, you can do so in return for a donation to the Mayor's charity. We have them for sale at Civic Centre. So our motion calls for action, in particular about, as I said, making our development more biodiverse. And there are practical things that this council can do, like taking part in No Mow May and reducing cutting of grass in other places to encourage wildflower growth so that the bees have somewhere to collect their pollen. And we should be reducing the use of glyphosate and other harmful chemicals on all land that this council manages. We should focus on protecting plants, trees and grassed areas from chemicals. Unfortunately, the Conservative group has an amendment which calls on others to act and takes out a number of the actions which we propose in our motion. This is a really practical thing, a list of practical things that this council could do to improve the environment of Chelmsford and the wider county, across the county. And it's something that we could do now, right now. We can make a difference to our environment and our future food supply. We often talk about the importance of food supply and how we're dependent on food imports, but this is something that we need to do now in our own country to protect our own food supply. So please support the motion. Please be positive and back the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I now call upon the mover of the amendment, Councillor Barker. Councillor Barker, you have up to 3 minutes.
Morning, Chairman, and thank you. Chairman, I'm very pleased to propose this amendment. And I do strongly believe that Essex Council does have a role to play by setting a good example and by seeking to influence others. Essex County Council owns a very small proportion of the land in Essex, but we can act as a responsible landowner and encourage parishes, builders, farmers, householders and landowners to act in a pollination-friendly way. I'm lucky enough to have a large garden home to many bees, mainly white-tailed bumblebees and masonry bees, as well as numerous types of hoverflies and other pollinators. Although some of my grass is mown, large areas of my garden are left to wildflowers, weeds, and the grass is left to set seed. These areas are a haven for pollinators, as well as wildlife in general. One way that Essex can seek to influence pollinator-friendly practices is by working with residents, landowners, and development. I recently was lucky enough to attend the launch of the Essex Nature Recovery Strategy, and was really taken with the presentation by Julia, the granddaughter of Beth Chatto. Beth Chatto built her gardens in the 20th century in Elmsted Market, planting appropriate plants for the terrain and the soil. The plants and the gardens thrive because they are happy in their environment. The gardens are bound with pollinators and are beautiful to visit. But to bring things into the 20th century, at the launch, we were educated on how the gardens were working with developers, planting a proportion of new homes on a new estate named after Beth, Chatto Wood. Some gardens were planted with carefully selected plants to provide a home for insects all years round, and others with the standard patch of grass. A year later, a head count was done. The planted plots had 20 times the number of insects than the grass plots, and they looked so much better. Such an improvement for all at such minimal cost. It's a pity I can't show you the slides because they really demonstrate a stark difference between the two approaches, but do go on their website and have a look. A second project for them has been the planting up of the Albert Roundabout in Colchester. Planting into sand with plants appropriate for a difficult to manage location has enhanced this bit of highways infrastructure. We can do so much more of this. Biodiversity net gain brings opportunities too. I have seen the development of the new Lee Valley ice rink, where insect boxes were built into the roofs of the bike sheds and bat boxes on the main building. This should be the norm and not the exception. We all value our bees, our pollinators and our wildlife, but we should not have to go and see it. It should be in all our gardens and neighbourhoods. By better planting, less mowing, working with residents, other councils, developers and farmers, we can make Essex a more bee and pollinator friendly county. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Barker.
Is the hearing on? I'm unfortunately not only with eyes, but I've got hearing aids now, and I couldn't hear Susan, and that's possibly the first time in 20 odd years I've been here that I've never been able to understand a single word she said. So if there is a problem with this IT and this, it is terrible. Some people, they come over on the mics so loud it's untrue. Kerry doesn't need a mic, but Susan, now I couldn't understand, and I've got feedback coming all the time. So we have a problem in this chamber. It's ridiculous.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am advised that the loop is working, but I do think that there is some work that needs to be done because clearly the audio systems are not operating as they should. So probably not much we can do for today. Apologies if you couldn't hear Councillor Barker, but we will have a look at that before the next meeting. Thank you. So we now come to the debate. I'll call upon individual members to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes and to speak to the motion. And Councillor Aspinall, I've got you top of the list.
Chair. I have a younger grandson who is suffers from hay fever really, really badly. Some days he cannot even get out of bed. His eyes won't open. It's really, really bad case, no matter what medication he takes. However, a friend of mine who lives about half a mile from my house, he has 12 beehives. He's got millions of bees and produces honey. Now, Harry will take that honey, and for a while, that works, as long as he's in our area. Goes home, really, really bad again. So what I'm saying is that honey has a medical aid to people who unfortunately suffer from hay fever badly. It's another reason why we should be supporting this motion. I think Brentwood declared a climate emergency when we took over a couple of years back, but we haven't gone as far as Chelmsford. And I think I'm going to go back from here and ask for a beehive on the top of Brentwood Council offices. We probably have a far better way of feeding our bees there, because Shenfield Common is just a hop, skip and a throwaway, closer than your Central Park. But nevertheless, it's something we could all learn, and we've all got offices that we can go back to. We've all got the opportunity to make a difference. What Stephen Robinson said was, in little ways, we can help, and we can. We've got, it's known in Essex, we've got 3,000 miles of verges, or if not more, 4,000 miles of verges. A small proportion of that could be put aside to low maintenance planting that will attract all of those insects that we're now losing at a rapid pace. We need this. We need diversity. We need our bees. We need butterflies and everything else that pollinate, that will keep the human race going. Without them, we have gone. Please accept this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
No, nothing for me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm
Okay.
not on the list for this one.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for a change, I follow Councillor Aspinall when it's normally the other way round. So there's a change. I will not be supporting this, and I would appreciate the Conservatives to elaborate their amendment, because I checked my emails late last night and I didn't see any amendments. So it would be nice when they wrap up to explain what their amendment is. I might be likely to support it. And I don't want to be political here, but between May 19 and May 24, May 21 and May 24, there was a different administration in charge of Basildon Council. And in my ward and division, areas were not seeing any weed treatment, vegetation being cut. Thanks to my colleague, Councillor McGurran, we've made the Pride teams funded directly by the area committees, and I can direct. Now, two estates that I'm elected to represent to cover, the Langdon Hills estate and Vange Hill Drive, they have walkways. They have not been treated with glyphosate at all this year. And between the paving slabs, grasses and other weeds grown at least 18 inches high. Since the change Councillor McGurran's made in July, the Pride teams have only just finished, and they've had 2 weeks every month at my direction, completing the Vange Hill Drive estate. And then they will be going over to Langdon Hills next month. Because, and as I say, not being political, they have not been sprayed with glyphosate. The previous administration in charge of Basildon Council had this policy of no mow May, and open spaces such as that in Kingswood that are well used by local children. And we've got responsibility for health. We want kids out playing football. We want people walking their dogs. It makes them healthy, don't we? That's something we want. But when the grass was cut at the end of May, it weren't fine trimmings, it was big lumps. It was just laying there because you don't want to be taking the grass clippings away for two reasons. One, the cost, and two, it's free nitrogen. You don't want to be putting extra nitrogen in the soil when you can use grass clippings. But the point was you had big clods of grass laying over the fields. Residents complained to us, the grass patch is dying, so no mow May, and opposing glyphosate does not work. And this makes the argument again for why we should have 5 authorities in Essex. The people of Chelmsford support what the Liberal Democrats are doing. But if that was done in my area, my residents would quite rightly lynch me. and it's about letting local people decide what is best for them. The real threat to bees are mites and other such insects and parasites that are attacking bees. And if we want to support bees, one of the easiest things to do around our grass and open spaces is to plant hawthorn bushes. Because when they start flowering in the spring, they are covered in bees. Why are we just planting trees that are wind pollinated? We should be planting trees that are bee pollinated, like horse chestnuts and the more fragrant trees, rather than just ash trees and oaks, which are relying on the wind. That's more food for bees. But not cutting the grass is not good for public health, and banning glyphosate, there is no other option for controlling weeds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I've now got Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I actually do support the Liberal Democrats on this motion. I think I'm lucky enough to live in an area where we do have many beehives. We have lots of lovely long grass. Town and parish councils in my division take it under their control to agree to no mow May. And if anybody's got any common sense, you make sure you mow it before May, so you don't have additionally long grass. That would be my advice to you. You can answer me back later. That's absolutely fine. But I think we need to look after our bees. We need to look after our trees. And I liked your point about hawthorn. And it's a shame that normally when you see lots of copious amounts of new developments, we are actually normally taking down hedges and trees and bushes to accommodate it. And I see this more and more, even though the biodiversity net gain we're supposed to be having 20% more. I'm afraid I don't believe half of it. We should be doing it. I totally congratulate the Lib Dems for bringing this. And I do think we need to be more grown up and accept that if we don't look after our wildlife, our animals, our insects, we're all going to be in trouble soon. And I think sometimes listening just to certain members of your community, you can't represent everybody. You have to make that decision yourself. So I won't be supporting the amendments. I think it's prudent to say about reducing glyphosate. We don't use it on the town council. There's alternative actions and methods that you can use. Yes, I'd like to congratulate them, and I'm going to support the whole motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just focus some comment on the biodiversity net gain aspect of the debate, because I don't think it's really been touched upon much so far. And the reason for it is because I find it, yes, I appreciate this conservative government policy, but I have found it a very odd situation where a developer can effectively pay for off-site credits, and therefore the local community who are meant to benefit from the uplift in biodiversity actually don't see directly the gain. And I think it's just more of a point, I suppose, that as we come into local government reform, reorganisation and devolution, is to have the thought about BNG sites across our county and different areas of our county to make sure that communities are benefiting from the off-credit sites. Because at the moment, I'm personally of the view that if you build a development on an open field, you lose some biodiversity, no matter if there's an uplift on the site or elsewhere. Overall, the amount of green space is going down. Now, there will always be a need for some housing and some housing on green sites, but it is inevitable that by building homes on it, I personally feel that the overall biodiversity goes down. And if anybody wants to read about the impact that this is having on England, in particular, there was a good report in The Guardian about how much biodiversity we are losing in England and wider Europe, but England specifically as well. And it is quite startling. And that links into a wider point about the growth strategy being proposed by the government on liberalising planning. But there is, in my view, a significant flaw in the biodiversity net gain approach in this country. And I hope that any new authorities that, when they're created, do look at this and how that's managed across their unitary area, be it for bees or however, because I personally, seeing it on the ground, currently have significant developments being proposed in the areas I represent. I have no idea where the biodiversity credits are being bought from, but they're certainly nowhere near the development, because the developers are saying that these are not going to be on site. And it is the reports that Essex County Council do when they submit a consultation on biodiversity net gain is very interesting, and it's quite technical, but it's worth a read if you have major applications come into your division to understand the impact of biodiversity of those applications in the area, because you might feel that there's going to be a small I don't know, meadow or something with butterflies and bees being built in your area, but actually it could be off some far off place that your residents will never see the benefit of. So it's a complicated and very interesting area of policy, and I hope that the new authorities do grasp it, because it is a relatively new area of legislation. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I haven't seen anybody else indicate, so unless anybody wants to speak now. No, I haven't seen anybody. So we're coming to the end of this debate. I call upon Councillor Schweer to make your speech, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And in response to several of the comments made, I'm aghast that actually the Lib Dem proposing this haven't really read in detail the climate action plan and what we have been doing at this administration for the last 4 years. A lot of what you have mentioned is actually already being acted and is being done. No May that you have mentioned, I think most of the district and boroughs have got that. That is being carried out, and of course we do encourage our residents as well. So also, it's been mentioned about the planning and biodiversity net gain. Of course, again, a lot of this has already been taken off by law, but as it came in April last year from a minimum of 10%, when anything is planned, it is a minimum of 10%, but actually with the Essex Design Guide now, if you look in that, it actually says 20%, and there's no reason why it cannot go higher. And we encourage that. So we're doing an awful lot of this. And the other thing is, look at the advice packs that we're producing. Look at the advice that we give our residents, and it's mentioned in there about no mow May as well. It's also mentioned in the school advice packs in detail about leaving strips to encourage wildlife, to encourage pollinators and insects. And it's been mentioned about the trees. Well, the trees, of course, are really important. And of course, what have we done with the Essex Forest Initiative? We've planted over 500,000. We had a target of 375,000. Trees do not get planted overnight, but in 5 years, we planted 500,000. In conjunction with other districts and councils and other partnerships, it's reckoned that we've done over 1 million across Essex. Many of those will be hawthorn, they will be blackthorn, they will be horse chestnut as well, which will flower, which will provide pollinators at different times of the year with the necessary pollen and nectar. And of course, importantly, they produce fruit and seeds, which provides all of our wildlife as well. So the other point about highways, I want to mention about glyphosate. And of course, this is a chemical that has been around for over 40 years and has been approved by the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive, and is used by virtually the majority of all farmers, all horticulturists, and lots of amenities. And as has been mentioned, where there are need for a strong control, especially within the highways and other building sites or around buildings and drains, this is one of the products that helps us to reduce damage to infrastructure. And what I think is important is that we do need to have that flexibility. I think highways need it. I think our businesses need it. I think our residents need it, because in order to control really pernicious weeds, glyphosate is one of those in the armory that is effectively needed. We need to have that flexibility. And I'm talking about Japanese knotweed, the large, sorry, I've just forgotten it's like a hogweed, which actually burns on human contact with skin. So that as well. And also bamboo. There are lots of situations where we need to be able to use that. And of course, but effectively highways as well. And people are turning to kinder alternatives. We are constantly searching for other possibilities, and there are those, but there will be situations where it's necessary to use that. And of course, all of this is about scale as well, and we've been talking about bees and helping those, and of course with regards to sort of pollinators, but we need to help all pollinators, not only bees, but we need moths and all the other insects as well that also do that. And the other point, with the climate focus areas, we've been doing an awful lot of that. So basically, I'm trying to give an overview of what we have been doing in the years and the amount of work that not only we at Essex County Council have been doing, but also what our residents and businesses have been doing across Essex to support this. And that has already been mentioned today by the Chancellor with the social value that has come through our budget as well and what's being taken there. And of course, all of this is making a difference. And the diversity is really important. And Councillor Barber made about the point about not being local, but if there is biodiversity off-site, that will then last for 30 years and will have a huge benefit. And our local nature recovery strategy covers an awful lot of this, and this was only came into our strategy a couple of weeks ago at our launch, as you've heard. So I would urge everyone to support this amendment for action to support the biodiversity.
Thank you. I now call upon Councillor Corrie to sum up and close the debate. Councillor Corrie, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. This Conservative amendment removes the facts. This Conservative amendment reduces climate change commitments, and this amendment fails to plan for our pollinators. I accept that the work talked about by Councillor Schuer is positive and in the right direction, but we have the ability to act, not just to advise and not just to organise and coordinate volunteers. We need to lead and we need to act. One positive within the amendment is the reminder about the local nature recovery strategy, which I do support and I do believe is a positive for this county. However, this amendment deletes the facts on glyphosates. It deletes reducing their usage, which will harm nature and it will harm humans. There is proven evidence on that. This amendment deletes the review into the bee-friendly practices. Why? This amendment deletes the pledge to No Mow May. Again, let's not advise, let's do it. The county controls a lot of our highways and our verges. This amendment deletes the bee and pollinator action plan. Why? This amendment deletes the mention of climate targets, replacing 3 lines with 3 paragraphs. Why? Thought you enjoyed efficiency, like me. So this amendment waters down a motion that takes action to protect residents and nature. Why? We all know the importance of our bees and our pollinators in our nature and our food chain. Don't threaten that. Support our bees and support the motion. Don't water down because of the threats from reform or anywhere else. Keep your courage, support our nature and support our bees. Thank you.
Thank you. We now come to voting, and as we have one amendment, there will be 2 votes. We will vote first on the Conservative amendment. We will then vote on the substantive motion, which will be the original motion as amended if the amendment is passed. I will now put the Conservative amendment to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? The amendment is carried. So we now move on to vote on that as the substantive motion. Those in favour, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? That is also carried. Thank you, members. Thank you. We move on then to motion 3, dyslexia in Essex. I call upon Councillor Hoy as the proposer of this motion to move the motion as set out in the agenda, but do not make your speech at this point.
I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Stamp, I understand that you will now be seconding the motion. Please can you confirm and let me know whether you wish to speak at the beginning or at the end?
Here, I rise to second the motion, but I will not be speaking on the motion.
Okay, thank you. I've received one notice of amendment from the Liberal Democrat group to be moved by Councillor Newport and seconded by Councillor McCrory. I call upon Councillor Newport formally to propose the Liberal Democrat amendment, but do not make your speech yet.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McCrory, as seconder, please just second the amendment of the motion and let me know whether you wish to speak at the beginning or the end.
Formally second, Mr. Chairman, and then I reserve my right to speak, although I don't think I shall detain the chamber very long. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the debate. I call upon Councillor Hoy to speak to the motion. Councillor Hoy, you have 5 minutes to do so.
Sorry, Chairman, I think I'll cut you off then. If myself as the proposer and the seconder wish to accept the amendment, do we just go debate the amendment, or do we still go for the vote? That's the start.
If you wish to accede to the amendment, then yes, we can move straight on to that.
Yeah, we accept the amendment, yes.
Okay.
I also do.
Thank you. In which case, call upon Councillor Newport to speak.
Thank you, Chairman.
Sorry, Chairman, do I still get a chance to speak or not?
Sorry. Councillor Hoy. Sorry, I'm told that I do need to allow you to speak. I'm not sure whether you want to or not. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do, Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry, in which case.
Sorry for the confusion. I just need to make sure that it was understood that we accept the amendment. That was all before we started. So I'll be using the word dyslexia, but I also mean dyscalculia, if I've got the pronunciation right as well, when I read my speech. Thank you, Chairman. I've proposed this motion because today in Essex, too many children with dyslexia are left behind, not through lack of care, but through lack of consistent policy and early intervention. Right now, Essex County Council does not automatically recognise dyslexia as a special educational need or disability. The result? Assessment is inconsistent, support is patchy, and children who could thrive are allowed to fail first before they receive help. According to the Guardian's education analysis, children with dyslexia who are not supported early are twice as likely to leave school without a pass in GCSE English. This is not the case because they lack ability, it's because our systems are failing them. Let me be clear, dyslexia is not a barrier to success. Jamie Oliver, who has spoken openly about his own dyslexia, didn't properly read a book until he was 38, and yet he became one of Britain's most successful authors and entrepreneurs. Why? Because someone believed in him and gave him a chance. How many children in Essex are waiting for that same chance? Jamie Oliver, in fact, started me thinking more about this issue through comments he made about it earlier this year. Dyslexia affects 1 in 10 people. That's over 20,000 children in Essex. Many are not picked up until year 6, secondary school, or in the case of one of my family members, not until they were at college, post 16. Far too late. The Guardian highlighted how thousands of dyslexia children experience anxiety damage or self-esteem and long-term learning disadvantage simply because no one recognised their needs early enough. This motion is measured, constructive and responsible. It does not ask for overnight policy change. It simply asks for a report within 6 months on how Essex can introduce earlier screening for dyslexia and literacy difficulties, train teachers and SENCOs in evidence-based support, align with best practice and principles from successful local authorities and academy trusts, and monitor the outcomes to ensure children do not slip through the gaps, sorry. This is not about labels, it's not about bureaucracy, it's about fairness. It is about giving every child in Essex the chance to succeed, based not on how quickly they can read, but on their potential and determination. Again, I just want to reiterate, this isn't about saying dyslexia isn't supported. It is through Essex General approach. However, this approach allows dyslexia to be missed. A young person may be diagnosed with something else, say autism, but then their dyslexia isn't picked up because there is a diagnosis of something else. With this in place, the approach will hopefully do something to offset that and allow proper diagnosis and better diagnosis and help for those people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoy. I now call upon Councillor Newport.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, I support this motion and wish to speak in particular about why it must include dyscalculia along with dyslexia. This is about children who are being failed by a system that still treats learning differences as problems to manage rather than a need to support. I know this from personal support. Our own son was diagnosed with dyscalculia late in his education, and he went through years of feeling like he was falling behind. He just thought he was slow at learning. He thought he was the problem, but he was not the problem. The problem was a system that did not identify his needs early and did not provide the right support soon enough. However, thanks to dedicated teachers at Swain Park, especially the former head teacher, Andy Hodgkinson, he started to rebuild his confidence. But no child should have to wait that long or struggle that hard before someone listens. We often hear about dyslexia, and rightly so. It affects around 1 in 10 people. It affects reading, writing, and processing language. And Essex should recognise this in its SEND framework and provide consistent early screening and intervention across every school. But we must also face the facts on dyscalculia. It affects a similar number of children as dyslexia, around 5 to 7%. It is a recognised specific learning difficulty linked to numerical processing, yet it is far less understood, far less diagnosed, and far less supported. Many children with dyscalculia are mislabeled as weak at maths. They are not weak. They have a diagnosable learning difference that affects memory, sequencing, and number sense. If it is not identified early, it leads to anxiety, damaged confidence, and barriers to future careers, including apprenticeships and vocational routes that need functional numeracy. Members, I just want to be clear that this is about fairness and giving children the best chance in life. Both literacy and numeracy are basic building blocks. If a child cannot read with confidence or work with numbers, they will struggle in education, employment, and daily life. This is why this motion matters. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. I now call on individual members to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak to the motion or the amendment, in which case we've got the single motion now. I understand this motion covers the portfolio of Councillor Ball, who will have up to 5 minutes to speak. I've got Councillor Spence to speak first on this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, good morning, and I'm sorry I would have to oppose this motion and the amendment regardless of who proposed it. Just because of one phrase. Our highly respected Director of Children's Services is very clear that there are many children being educated with special education needs who should not be so, with lifelong consequences in terms of segregation, ambition, employment. Whereas there are most of those children have additional educational needs. The statements in this that every child who has dyslexia has special education needs is factually wrong, dangerous for that child and what will mean for them, and actually dangerous for those with the most severe special education needs. We simply cannot do everything. We've heard ratios today, and you could easily see a scenario where we get to 30–40% of children being labelled with special education needs. It is the job of the NHS to diagnose dyslexia and to understand its severity. It is then immediately our job to work with them through education or children's services in making sure that the additional needs are addressed. And yes, if there are special education needs, that child be so labelled, please not for every person with dyslexia. My own wife, who had both dyscalculia and dyslexia, in relatively mild ways, coped with the battle, and we understand that. But she got the additional help she needed and went on to lead a primary school infant department. So I do understand. And I do want to be fair. And fairness is not to automatically label every child as having special education needs. And what we do need to do is to work ever better with the NHS, which is what we're doing with those who will lead the emerging Greater Essex Integrated Care Board, as we discussed only yesterday, on the agendas of the NHS 10-year plan around prevention, care closer to home, integration. And that, Mr. Chairman, is the positive way forward, working with the NHS on early identification, early work together to make the most appropriate response to that child, not immediately casting them in the emergency ward. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Spence. Councillor Ball, and you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. When I first saw this motion, I was firstly disappointed, and then, if I may say, slightly confused, and then struggling to see what the outcomes were required by this motion, how it could improve outcomes for our children. I was also concerned that it actually gives the impression that actually we don't recognise children with literacy and numeracy difficulties, which is absolutely not the case. There is a bit of difference of opinion on what actually dyslexia is, and scientists disagree. And actually there is no recognised pathway for dyslexia itself in how a child improves their literacy and the outcomes. But what we do in Essex is, as Councillor Spence highlighted, we don't label our children. We are inclusive, and we have all our schools, as highlighted by Councillor Newport, have systems in place to recognise dyslexia and dyscalculia. And then within that, they then use methods tailored to the individual needs of that child without labelling them. Councillor Hoy mentioned Jamie Oliver, which I know this originally came from when he was speaking at an event with Bridget Phillipson. And in fact, we did have the Department of Education contact us, and we did reply to them, fully setting out exactly what we do in Essex for children and young people with literacy difficulties. And I'll just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just set out a couple of points. So our ambition is to ensure all children receive high quality literacy teaching and early identification and support in literacy and numeracy difficulties. And can I just point out, what have we been doing in education and skills in the last 2-3 years? Year of numbers, year of reading, which has been inclusive, and we've seen really good results, particularly those with special educational needs. So for there to be inclusive support in all Essex schools, the focus is on ensuring all pupils receive the help they need without subcategorising based on specific diagnosis like dyslexia, but nonetheless still recognising such diagnosis. And following Jamie Oliver's comments, we actually had a school, the Mayflower High School, the Dyslexia Centre, celebrating dyslexia, neurodiversity, and inspiring young minds. Well, it's just not recognising dyslexia in Essex. I don't know what is. Actually having a school that is dyslexia, neurodiversity, and inspiring young adults as their subtitle. And they wrote to him, asking him to come and visit them, particularly their catering offer, which they have for children with severe literacy difficulties. Unfortunately, there has been no response. I do, though, celebrate
and pay tribute to the work that Jamie Oliver has done, and hopefully carries on doing so, but hopefully with more of the facts, particularly in Essex, where he grew up. So, if I may say, Mr. Chairman, we won't be supporting this motion. We won't be amending it because it is, in my view, factually incorrect. We do recognise dyslexia amongst all the other issues, literacy difficulties that our children in this county represent. So, although I would take it that Councillor Hoy did put this motion forward and amended by the Liberals with all good intent, I would say to you, please, and I'm quite happy to write to everybody with this brief on exactly what we do in Essex, but we will be opposing this incorrect motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well done. Thank you, Councillor Bowler. I haven't got anybody else who's indicated that they wanted to speak, so I'll call on Councillor McCrory to make your speech, please. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm bound to say that I wasn't anticipating having to say very much on this because I thought that the party opposite would be supporting this motion. But there we go. It seems to be sometimes it's almost a principle of theirs. Looking at the actual wording, I mean, it says Essex does not automatically recognise a child. So what's wrong with that? And it says having special needs or disability SEND. It doesn't actually specify that requirement, just recognising that the condition exists. And 2 examples were given where people have members of their family who've gone through education without these conditions being recognised. So I'm really disappointed that the party opposite can't feel that they're able to support earlier screening. What's wrong with that? And then to monitor the outcomes for children. I mean, what's wrong with that? And it's not about labelling, it's about recognising the conditions and then acting upon them. So I wish we wouldn't have got into this debate because I think it's very unfortunate that what is being proposed here doesn't seem to have the support of the party opposite. And I would say, of course, I do recognise the work that's been going on, but there's always more that we can do. And as I said earlier, examples have been given where children have missed out because the conditions have not been recognised. So we can see which way it's going to go, but nevertheless, we still feel that we ought to support this motion because these children deserve this additional needs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor McCrory. We now come to the voting, and as the amendment was agreed, we will have just one vote as that's become the substantive motion. So I put it to the chamber. Those in favour, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is lost. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. We come on now to council issues. Council issues is the next item within your agenda pack, and it is to receive the report from the leader of the council of council issues. The issues for your consideration today are political groups' appointments to committees, dates of council meeting. The recommendations within the report are to be found on pages 28 and 29 and are to be moved by Councillor Bentley and seconded by Councillor McKinley. Councillor Bentley, do you move the recommendations?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor McKinley, are you
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Durham, I believe you wish to speak about the appointment to committees. Oh, he's gone. He hasn't been appointed. I've no other speakers who've indicated in advance. So does anybody wish to speak on any of those things? I haven't seen anybody. No. Okay, we'll move on then to cabinet issues, and these issues are to be found. I'm sorry, we need to agree the council issues report. Are they agreed? Thank you. Cabinet issues, they're to be found in the agenda pack, and it is to receive the report from the leader of the council of the urgent decisions taken and the minutes of cabinet meetings held in July and 2 in September. The recommendation on page 30 is to be moved by Councillor Bentley and seconded by Councillor McKinley. Councillor Bentley, do you so move?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor McKinley, are you seconding?
Seconded, Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have any members who wish to speak? No, can't see anybody. So those in favour of those? Agreed. Thank you. Local Government Act 1972, Section 85, approval of the reason for non-attendance at meetings. The next item is approval of reason for non-attendance at meetings. A report can be found from page 46 of the agenda pack. Members, you will be aware that Councillor Foley is unwell and is not expected to be able to attend any meetings in the short term. The non-aligned group have asked for this report to come before you today. Could I please ask Councillor Stamp to move the report?
I so move, Chairman. Am I allowed to speak just briefly?
Certainly, carry on.
Thank you. He called me last night, Councillor Foley, and he has assured me, he does apologise, but it is poorly. And he's assured me that he will be attending the next meeting. So he asks members if they could approve this, and he apologises, but we all sometimes have episodes of unhealthiness and hospital treatment, as we know some other members of this council are going through. So I would like to propose, Chairman, that we do agree this extension, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoyer, I understand you're seconding the report.
I second it, Chairman. I don't feel the need to speak on this.
Thank you. Do I have any other speakers? No. The recommendation is on page 46 that council approves this reason for absence. This report has been moved and seconded, so I now ask you to, if it is agreed. Thank you. We now come to oral questions to the leader, cabinet members, chairman of the committee. Perhaps I can ask you to clearly indicate your intention to ask an oral question. I do have quite an extensive list, but please, if you wish to be added to the list, please raise your hand and keep it raised until somebody has confirmed that. As I've already mentioned, please do ask your question promptly and with a limited preamble to enable members to have the opportunity to ask their question. There are a lot to come. Councillor Stamp, you wish to...
Could I actually ask if I'm early or later, because I really do need to have a brief break? My question. Sorry,
I can put you top of the list if you really... I'm not sure whether that's favouritism, but please take the premier position. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so moving on then, Councillor McCrory, to the Cabinet Member for Highways and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question to Councillor Cunningham. He may recall the May 24 council meeting. I raised with him the issue of measures in White Hart Lane, Springfield, which is subject to a Section 106 agreement of £420,000 for traffic calming measures. We have had a pedestrian crossing installed, but there's still a considerable amount outstanding. Now, I had a meeting with the director early on in January this year, and I was promised monthly updates. And as so far, I've not had any monthly updates. I did send a further email in July and was told that a revised design is still in place. A similar reply was given to the Member of Parliament, but I understand that the Section 106 agreement runs out on in January next year. So can he please expedite this work before the Section 106 money runs out? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Just before I answer Councillor McCrory's question, I'm sensing that maybe a large number of the questions on your list may be to the Cabinet Member for Highways. Could I just take this opportunity just to remind colleagues that there is the written question option on this council, which can expedite a full frank response within 28 days. So some of these issues need not necessarily be saved to full council, but when the questions are asked, of course, more than happy to answer them. With regard to the matter he raises, I haven't been privy to all those emails. I will get him an urgent response without delay. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got another question from Councillor McCrory, again to the Cabinet Member for Highways, Infrastructure and Sustainable Transport.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that reply. I look forward to that. He may also recall that on the 15th of July, I presented a petition from children from the Cathedral School requesting warning signs along Victoria Road. As of yesterday, they've not had any response back. I wonder if he could expedite that, please, because the children are wondering why they've not had a reply. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry they haven't had a response. I think that might have been an administrative glitch, which I take responsibility for, and I apologise. I can assure him of a reply and of options in order to bring some signs forward for this scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. I've now got a question from Councillor Barber, which was originally scheduled as to be to the Leader of the Council. I understand that's now to Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the most significant issues locally affecting my division is National Grid's Norwich to Tilbury proposal, something that I'm firmly against, and I support the integrated offshore option as an alternative. I was wondering if the Cabinet Member can confirm Essex County Council's position in respect of the pylon proposal and whether we remain opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The National Grid have formally notified the Council that their development consent order for Norwich to Tilbury has been accepted for examinations. Residents, businesses and all organisations will have until the 27th of November this year to submit their relevant representations and register as an interested party. ECC will be registering as an interested party, and we will be submitting the relevant representations identifying our principal areas of concern along exactly the lines that Councillor Barber has just initiated. Our position has not changed on this. I also would like to thank my colleague, Councillor Waglam, for all the work that's being done together with formerly Councillor McKinley and now myself on this. This is going to be a very, very important issue for our entire county and indeed for our surrounding area. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. I've got a question next from Councillor Aspinall to the Cabinet Member for Arts, Heritage and Culture, but unfortunately he's already left. I'm not sure whether Councillor Holly Whitbread is available. I'm told that she's not. Could I ask that they deal with you separately outside the meeting in terms of your question? Because obviously there's nobody here at the moment to answer that for you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll defer that question till, well, hopefully by December there's going to be a reaction to that particular question at Cabinet. It's not going to this Cabinet meeting, it's going to December's, so that'll be fine.
Okay, thank you for your understanding.
Have you got my next question?
Yes, you've got another one now for the Cabinet Member for Highways, Infrastructure and Sustainable Transport.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, no surprise. Since the fading out of local highways panels, and I've had an exchange of emails identifying this is like a torture chamber. I've had an exchange of emails which tells me that there is no monies within our local highways budget anymore for speed surveys. So, and or other local highway related matters going forward. So could I ask, do we now contact you direct at Highways and ask for these valued items to go forward? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. There hasn't been a fading out of the local highways panel. There's been a review of the local highways panel and a 2-year programme of funding allocated with a view to prioritising a backlog of projects that are deliverable for residents. I'm afraid there's been a clogging of the arteries in some local highways panels for far too long, and we've been unblocking that clogging up. With regards to his points about speed surveys, we will be introducing in the upcoming weeks other means in which members can get speed surveys and other small safety projects delivered. More information to come, and that information will be coming shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson, you have a question for the Cabinet Member for Housing, Planning, Regeneration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given that every member of this chamber is rightly concerned about safety on the county's roads, and I know we're all in agreement that one death is too many, I'd like to ask Councillor Scott a question. I know that road safety is a cause that he's passionate about, and I take the opportunity to thank him for his commitment and leadership as chairman of the Safer Essex Roads Partnership in dealing with this serious issue. Would Councillor Scott please update the chamber about the progress being made to reduce road deaths?
Thank you, Chairman, and I thank Councillor Johnson for the question. We're all deeply saddened by any tragic loss of life whatsoever, and our thoughts will always be with the families, friends, and anyone associated with anyone involved in these tragic events. I cannot, like any other colleague, speak about any individual event because obviously that is a matter for the authorities rather than us at this stage. We believe and aim to have no deaths on our road whatsoever. Yeah. There are various measures that can be put in place to try and alleviate this, but one of the biggest problems is you can't alleviate poor driving. You can't alleviate if somebody is not going to obey the rules of a road or indeed other such rules. I have a meeting next week where we're working together with the police and every other official body to try and alleviate the number of deaths that have occurred on our road. And I want to assure this chamber we will move heaven and earth to try and make that reduction. Our aspiration is still 0 deaths on our roads. Please God, we will achieve that. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson, I see you have 2 questions. Please continue with each of them. They're both to the Cabinet Member for Highways, Infrastructure and Sustainable Transport. So,
thank you, Chairman. And this question is as a result of going through members' inquiries and getting response. Recently, I've noticed 3 lamp columns being cut down in my division and covered with the usual lovely yellow tape all over them, which usually stands there for months. And the answer I got, because I've been back a couple of times, was the removal was not planned in advance. These particular columns failed the assessment. My question is, can't we come up with a programme? Because I also asked the question when they'll be replaced. Well, it's going to be months and months. So some of these areas where elderly people live, you know what they fear. They fear the fear of crime and see this the darkness outside their house without these lights. So they're going to be months and months. Can't we come up with a system where we have a program where we look at these lamp columns prior to them actually failing, and then have a lamp column ready to put straight in rather than have to wait months for those to be replaced? This happens all the time. I'm sure we can come up with a better program. I'll ask my second one after this one, Chairman.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Henderson, for that question. He raises a valuable point. I'll certainly look into the lampposts that he raises, and we'll speak with our service team to see if there are any operational improvements that can be made along the lines that he's outlined. But I'm grateful for the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And he'll probably be aware of this one, but again, I think this is worth getting on the record because it is a bit of concern. The King Charles III English Coastal Path. It runs alongside the Tendron coastline and beyond. The path covers a 2,700-mile trail around England's coast. It also covers a large part of the Tendron area. Natural England carried out surveys, worked with landowners to create the route, and the actual path was agreed and signed off by the Secretary of State in 2021. Most of the path is open, but 150 miles of the path stretch is around Essex and hasn't been opened at all. Natural England require all funding processes to go through Tendron District, through Essex County Council. I'm told that it's been funded 100% of the funding for the trail has been guaranteed to Essex County Council since 2021-22. And there is concern that the money may not be there in the future. So my question is to him, can he please look at this urgently to make sure we make the most of this funding and we open those pathways so our residents can enjoy those walks, only not just for themselves, but also for other people, for their health and well-being around this coastline. Thank you.
Once again, thank you to Councillor Henderson for his question. Absolutely, we'll certainly take that up. I'll take it up with Councillor Scott because I think it probably falls into regeneration, particularly regeneration projects in the tendering area. So I will take that up with Councillor Scott and revert. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Henry, question for the Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Councillor Spence.
Thank you, Chairman. My question for Councillor Spence is this. Is he able to provide us with an update on his campaign to promote foster-friendly employment across the county? Thank you.
Well, I thank Councillor Henry for that question. And the importance of fostering becomes clearer. We heard earlier in the Chancellor's report about the financial strains. Much more important for me, if we cannot get enough fostering places, we do not enable children to have a better start in life than would be the case if they go into residential care. I'm very pleased to say we are making progress, where we have a far bigger pipeline of foster parent applications than other counties. But no, we are not going fast enough. In December last year, Councillor King will remember, because he was very helpful to me on that occasion, I came to the Essex Leaders and Chief Executives meeting, and every councillor in the room agreed to move to fostering friendly employment status. So far, 5 have done so, Chairman. I ask all of you who are double hatters to raise the matter in your council. But it isn't enough to claim the status, it's actually got to live it. And I say the same to our own colleagues here in the County Council. We need to engage in a way that will enable those who might just want to take the first tentative steps to do so anonymously, quietly, so that they're not creating some personal risk for themselves. And out of that way, the more we can do this, the better outcomes we'll have for the children. The very children we were talking about earlier, often with dyslexia and other special or additional needs, the better outcome we will get for them. And the better financial sustainability we'll get, not just for this council, Chairman, but for the unitary councils who will follow us.
Thank you. I now have Councillor Newport with a question for Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'd just like to start by thanking Councillor Cunningham for attending a site visit recently on a long-standing issue in my division. The question I have for Councillor Cunningham is, I've written to member inquiries and himself several times about the condition of the road between the Carpenter's Arms and Bedloe's Corner, and the road. My residents are very, very concerned about the safety. There was recently a motorcycle accident there where a motorcyclist came out because of the condition of the road. Will Councillor Cunningham reassure me that urgent action will be taken on this stretch of road as I've called for in my previous emails? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Newport, for his question. I'll make urgent inquiries and get back to him fully. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Councillor Siddle who wants to ask a question of Councillor Spence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The published Cabinet papers on the 16th of October revealed a very significant overspend on children's services. Please, can you advise what is going on in that area? Thank you.
Well, Chairman, thank you, Councillor Siddle. And this isn't a happy story, is it? And I regret that I've given apologies for the Cabinet meeting on Thursday, but my wonderful colleague, Councillor Beresford, will be there to answer questions. What's happening? We are seeing ever-increasing demand. We know that we have one of the best children's services in the whole of England. You don't cease being Real Madrid because you lose a few matches. So they are still one of the best children's services in the country. But when you get a changing nature and complexity of demand, when we see more children coming into care at a few months old, that imposes very heavy burdens on the system. All the more reason, Chairman, for the very issues I've said around kinship and fostering initiatives, and the urgent need for us all to get behind this. And I stress all, it cannot be solved by a Cabinet member and even the most brilliant children's services team on their own. And then on to residential care. And I heard what Councillor Henderson said, and I must say I was rather sad that he had applied no intellectual rigour to his comment. We have had no improvement to the residential market. Yes, Chairman, we get some bungs of money from government, which when dissipated down to this county typically mean a 50th of the national figure. And even then that gets fudged away in terms of going to some favoured areas. The residential care market is broken. That has been acknowledged by successive governments, yes, the previous government and this government. And this is the government that is there today, Chairman. And this is the government that needs to urgently take the steps it needs to take in order to help us address it. We need to do our bit. I'm not just pointing to government. We in the Essex County Council need to work with our officers in new and different ways in order to make the right inroads into that market. I discussed the issue with the Chief Executive only last week. But because that market is broken, I can look at 50 cases in this county, who between them are taking around 30 to 40 million pounds of care between them. And that, Chairman, is a growing number, and that is intolerable. And I need to say to this council, and I will say it again, for the benefit of our young people and for the absolute survival and sustainability of the councils to follow us, we need action within this council, with our district and borough and city partners, and from national government. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Spence. Councillor Loxton, you have a question for Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned earlier, Highways is not accepting local highways panel proposals. And at a Chelmsford Highways panel meeting, we were told that that is likely to be the case next year as well. But at that meeting and in subsequent correspondence, we've been assured that there will be a programme for safety-related proposals. Now, these welcome news because there are one or two schemes in my own division which residents are very keen to see to make safety improvements to roads or footpaths. You alluded to this earlier, I think, Councillor Cunningham, but could you actually tell us today the date by which you hope to announce that programme and what the criteria will be for proposals being accepted? Thank you.
Can I thank Councillor Loxley for his question? What I can confirm is he won't have too long to wait, and the full clarity and full explanation and full training and guidance to all members will be provided. I just ask him to be a little bit more patient. Thank you. He won't have long to wait.
Thank you. Councillor Vance, you have a question for Councillor Spence.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Last Friday, we here in Essex joined the global community to observe World Mental Health Day, a day led by the World Health Organization to raise awareness of mental health issues and to mobilize efforts in support of mental well-being. This annual observation is not just symbolic, it is a powerful reminder of our shared responsibility to improve access to mental health care for those who need it most. In light of this, I'd like to ask the Cabinet Member, what are the latest trends in Essex in youth mental health care? How has COVID-19 pandemic impacted our young people? What is currently being done to support their mental health and emotional resilience? And importantly, how have these trends showed any signs of improvement? Thank you.
Well, Chairman, I'll do my best to answer at least part of the question, and I'll provide written answers to the rest. Yes, indeed, it was World Mental Health Day. I spent the day having a series of visits, which probably, well, apart from being personally exhausted, Chairman, gave me concern, gave me depression, gave me hope, and gave me inspiration. The trends are indeed upwards. I went to the Wilderness Foundation. I went to Children's Society. I heard about cases of more acute behavioural issues at an ever younger age. I met volunteers and professional workers who understand these young people. You know, when a child of 8 suddenly attacks the leader of their group very strongly and very physically, you do understand the scale of the issues going on in their head. So we will get you some statistics, Councillor Vance, about the rising trend. I went to the Crystal wards of Broomfield Hospital, where, for those who don't know them, is where you have the most acute cases there for weeks, even months at a time. We need to work with the NHS within the 10-year plan to get much better at spotting such cases at an earlier age, because I came away profoundly impressed by the work of the staff, but so sad in terms of the patients I met in there. We all know that COVID had an impact. What is less clear is why that impact would be still continuing, or why new cases would be coming forward today. There is much research on this, and it has had an impact, and the cases are growing at too alarming a rate. There are many other aspects of society. Bullying, which I might have experienced at school, I could leave behind on the bus. It did not follow me into the bedroom. The availability of those who would make you want to consider your self-harm. So we have societal issues. We will work very closely with our NHS partners in a new spirit of partnership, actually, to address these. I don't know what we can do to reduce the growth. I do know we can do a bit. I do know that we can all work together to try to get to that stage, working in communities, in neighbourhoods, where those who begin to display the signs can be helped early, and we can avoid the lifelong consequences of mental illness, for which over 50% of first episodes appear before the age of 14. We in this council need to be totally joined up internally. We in this council need to be joined up externally with all the partners in this field. And I invite any councillor who would like to know more. We will be very happy to arrange a special session. So I thank Councillor Vance for his question.
Thank you, Councillor Spence. Councillor Barker, you have a question for Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, Takeley Parish Council did hope to attend this council meeting today to put their concerns forward to the cabinet member, but it didn't meet the deadline. So I have forwarded what they would have said to Councillor Cunningham. But basically, in Takeley, we have airport parking issues. Parsonage Road is now slalom parking all the way down. Where there isn't a road, somebody isn't parked, but every other space is taken up by an airport parker. The parish council for the last 2 years has tried to get red lines down this road. That was sort of put on hold because we were trying to find a parish-wide solution to the parking problem. But in June this year, at the local highways panel, Essex County Council designed scheme was put to the local highways panel, fully funded by the airport for implementation on the 30th of September. This has not happened, and the parish council want to understand why this has not been happened. Now, we do understand that officers now feel they need to extend the scheme further. We have a scheme. It's been agreed. It's been funded. It is needed. So my ask is, can I ask Councillor Cunningham to please come to Takeley, meet with the parish council, understand their concerns and the severity of the issue, and then get the scheme installed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Barker, for a question. And as due notice beforehand, there have been multiple waiting and loading restriction schemes proposed along this length of road, including the LHP scheme and developer-led proposals. To ensure that restrictions are most effective and provide value to our taxpayers, officers across multiple teams are working together to design a suitable proposal which best meets the needs of all road users. I appreciate this is a very live issue and therefore have instructed officers to find a solution to install restrictions along this road at the earliest available opportunity. We're committed to delivering a scheme in this vicinity, but if Councillor Barker and the parish still wish me to visit, I'll of course be very happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Garnett, you've got a question for Councillor Spence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, my question to Councillor Spence is at this council meeting of the 18th of September, the Cabinet member spoke about the important events on health and care in Essex on the 24th of September. What are the outcomes, actions following that session? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Garnett. It's quite nice for me to end up on a more positive note, unless there are more questions still, Chairman. We did indeed have the seminar on the 24th of September. I was delighted that, as far as I know, every single district, borough, city council was represented. Every leader of the NHS in Essex was present, bar one who just couldn't make it. We had a terrific session led by Tom Abel from the NHS. We had major contributions from Sarah Muckle, our Director of Public Health, and others. The outcome is that this was very clearly stated to be the first step. We do not need to know what the outcome is for the geography of unitary councils in Essex for us to start planning how to make the most efficient, effective system across Essex, whatever the outcome of that debate. And we are on that case. I met with NHS and other colleagues yesterday, and the Integrated Care Board, the emerging Essex Integrated Care Board, because the three are still in place till the 31st of March, will be staging a series of place-based events in the coming weeks. Invitations will be made to all the key players in order that we can have joined up understandings of how best we can operate at neighbourhood and community level. I am filled with optimism that we really are moving into a better place. Now we move towards co-terminosity of county, bigger county, if you like, including unitaries, and the NHS. Would that we could have done it before now. But it is a very positive story, and members will see the outcome of this, not in many weeks, but in a few days to come, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. I now have Councillor Plough, who has a question for Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you. Earlier this year, myself and colleagues called in a decision by North Essex Parking Partnership to introduce parking charges on Whittam and Halstead High Streets. Will the Cabinet Member for Highways agree to work with myself and colleagues and district councillors as well to uphold the conditions of that call-in process and ensure that residents and businesses are properly consulted, and if it transpires that they are not wanted, that NEP should act accordingly? Thank you.
Can I thank Councillor Pale for his question for first raising my attention to this matter? I'm very happy to give that undertaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stamp, now come to you. I believe you have two questions for Councillor Cunningham.
I do, and I do apologise. I normally try not to ask you so many questions because I do feel you actually get far more than what you'd most probably like. Members, since I was elected, I think you'll know that I have been championed to try and reduce the B1010 in Althorn from a 40 to a 30. I bring it up on more than at least once or twice a year. I had the honour of walking with both Cabinet members, Councillor Scott and now Councillor Cunningham, along that route where we've parked at the Old People's Caravan site at the bottom and walked up. And members, no exaggeration, there is a footpath one side that is no wider than that. So we had to be very careful. I managed to get what I thought was the approval for the speed reduction from the previous Cabinet member, Councillor Scott, because a precedent had been set by the previous, who's now the leader in Merseyisland, when he managed to get that speed reduction in his area, because I know it's not the norm. So I tried everything that I thought would happen. But sadly, Councillor Cunningham has responded. I sent an email and I did warn him, Chairman, so he knows that I was going to be asking these questions. But because of a procedural error at some stage, I'm not going to call out any officers or any Cabinet members, but it has failed. Well, now, sadly, members, last Thursday before, we had 2 fatalities on that stretch of road. And I know the Cabinet member cannot speak about it because there's going to be an inquiry, because there's 2 deaths, because there could be other contributing factors. But people who know me, that road is that where the accident was, Chairman, was on the brow of the hill. Somebody was coming this way. They hit one car head on. A young mum with 2 young children died. An elderly gentleman died who's 70, and another one is still in hospital with serious injuries. If you'll just allow me, so far on the roads in Essex, we have had 54 people die. Last year it was 50. I'm intrigued how this Vision Zero is going to try and address having no accidents when no speed limits and no safety is being addressed to our roads. It's not just rural communities, it's everywhere. We know that when you're in a rural community, it is 60. I've got speed limits of 60 on blind bends with developments coming forward, Chairman. It's complete madness. We need to be actually looking at everything in a whole in our county to make it safer. Where this accident happened, Chairman, is where the Old People's Place is. Forgive me saying that. That's really rude of me, but we do refer to it as that. It's a lovely place. I was canvassing there when sadly the Prince died. No, the King died previously. So, and they're really nice people. But what I'm actually saying is, Chairman, if you are driving at 40, you have got the significant risk of death or injury dramatically increases, not just in cars, but in pedestrians. There is no pedestrian crossing. We've got a bus stop this side and a bus stop this side. People won't go on the bus, Chairman, because they can't walk fast enough because the traffic is flying by. So what I'd like to sort of say, and I hate being so challenging somewhere, Councillor Cunningham, but that decision you made, you had it in your power to be able to put a CMO to reduce that speed limit. Can I ask that you revisit it for the safety of our residents? We have over 12,500 traffic movements in that road alone, and it's not two lanes, Chairman. It's 1 lane and a bit where you have to go up on the side road to get a lorry and a car past. It's not suitable. Now, I did say you can't comment on it, and I appreciate that. But can I actually ask you, we're going to have residents here today, but they said that they've messaged me. They're a little bit upset. They're not coming to support me on it, but they actually asked me to raise it. So please, Councillor Cunningham, can you readdress looking at that speed limit so we don't have any more deaths on that road? Thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Stamp, for that. And can I, first of all, associate myself with any sympathies for the tragic accident that happened recently in Hawthorne, and just once again repeat that I cannot speak further on the circumstances of the collision whilst an ongoing investigation is taking place. Essex County Council are reviewing its speed safety strategy, and that will be going to consultation early in the new year, with the outcomes swiftly implemented soon after. With regard to this particular stretch of road, and I did have the opportunity, and I'm grateful for Councillor Stamp for hosting us early this summer to walk that, and I did see some of the problems firsthand. When we make decisions over implementing speed restrictions, we have to take into account the impact of those speed restrictions, not just within the immediate vicinity, but the knock-on effect of surrounding roads and on the surrounding networks. And there was a concern over speed displacement in that area. To that extent, whilst I wasn't prepared and I didn't feel able to, on sound advice of experts, to sign that CMA, I did give an undertaking that we would continue to look at the issues of speed in that vicinity and modelling and giving consideration to the likely development, which Councillor Stamp did allude to, in the wider Malden area. That puts a different perspective on potential speed restrictions when the area is going to essentially change quite considerably. That work is continuing. We will work closely with Malden District Council on that as their strategic planning processes progress. And as I say, we continue to look at the situation through an open mind based on evidence that comes forward. And I'm very happy to continue to give her that undertaking today and that undertaking to her residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
You have a second question.
I'm sorry, it's to you again, Councillor Cunningham. We had, and I think I've congratulated you, I think back in May, we had a lovely stretch of road resurfaced. But obviously then we had a heat wave, and this is coming through Hawthorne as well, so it's all melted. I did what all members do and report it and say, when are you going to come back to actually repair it? I was told August, so happily waiting for August. Chased it up, Chairman. No, it's not going to be August, Councillor Stamp. I can't tell you when. Now, I don't know if that road surface contributed. I've got no idea. I'm not a specialist. But when we're told that road surfaces that do not hold, do you actually send, not you personally, do you send an inspector out to monitor it? And why aren't we repairing these surfaces of the road? It's not just in my division, it's everywhere. So what I'm suggesting is I think the service is failing. If you, not you, but whoever does it, repairs the road, they should make sure it is done to a current or a decent standard and doesn't give way within 4 or 5 weeks of it. And if it does, you need to come back and repair it. The road is treacherous. And I'm going to stop there because I feel as though I'm moaning. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Works that we do across the county are monitored by our quality control team within Essex Highways, and where it's demonstrated there is a failure of standards, then the contractor, the principal contractor, or the contractors working on the principal contractor supply chain are held to account. There are various different circumstances and various different reasons behind any particular failure. I am not familiar with the particular investigations that were carried out. I will certainly look into that and give her a full update and give her some indication when remedial action, if it is needed or is deemed appropriate in line with the asset management strategy, will be carried out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Councillor Hoy, a question for Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Councillor Cunningham for agreeing to meet me on a site visit. I've yet to arrange it for that due to personal circumstances, but I hope to get onto that later this week. The question is around Essex Water and Cadent. They appear to be continually digging up the roads in and around Hockley and Holbridge. Once one stops, another one starts. Would it be possible for you as a Cabinet member to arrange a meeting with Cadent and or Anglian Water, Essex Water, I think it's Essex Water because it's a supply, to understand the issues they're having in the area and why that they're conducting so much emergency work. There is planned work in Hockley as well, I understand that, but this is also emergency work.
Can I thank Councillor Hoy for his question? Look forward to being able to join him as soon as practically possible. In terms of the question he makes about Cadent, I'm sorry to hear of the problems being faced by residents in Hockley and Holbridge. I'm afraid these aren't isolated incidents. We do take these matters up with the respective utility companies, and I'm very happy to arrange such a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I've now got some people who've indicated that they wish to speak. Councillor McGarren.
Thank you. It's another one for Cabinet Member for Highways, I'm afraid. It's a relatively straightforward one, though, and it does refer to a reply I got very recently from members' inquiries about a street lighting issue on Oakdean Road, Pitsea, and in particular the area near the older persons accommodation Oakdean. The reply I got, I won't read it all, but was the usual one about it being passed on to UKPN for repair. It's understood this will be addressed in the near future, but unfortunately there is no confirmed date for attendance. Unfortunately, there's at least 5 streetlights out in the immediate vicinity of the old people's accommodation, and they've been out for about 2 years. And the response that when residents raise it is exactly the same that I've been given in the last few days. Does the Cabinet Member agree with me that this just isn't good enough? And does he also agree, or will he also look at, if he isn't already doing this, that there needs to be more emphasis on priorities, so that areas where there are old people's accommodation, etc., that UK power networks are made aware that these are priorities and need to be dealt with as quickly as possible? Because I think we've heard other instances around the counties of similar things, and it's just not good enough that for 2 years so many streetlights can be out in an area like this.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor McGarren. Certainly give an undertaking to get his residents a better response, and I sympathise with a lot of the issues that he's raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have Councillor Buckley.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Question to Councillor Ball, Cabinet Member for Education, Lifelong Learning and Skills, if I can remember all of his duties. Does the Cabinet Member agree with me that parental parking outside schools in Wickford in particular continues to be a problem despite the ongoing efforts of us as county councillors? And does he also agree with me that the leader of Basildon Council calling for the resignation of the head teacher of one of Wickford's most popular primary schools will not resolve the situation? It's reckless, it's divisive, and it demonstrates his ongoing lack of empathy with the people of Wickford. Will the Cabinet Member reassure parents that this council has full confidence in the head teacher of that school, and will he communicate that to the school? And I will be glad to support him on that if he will do so. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry. Well, the question was to me, Councillor McGarren. I will answer. I thank my divisional colleague, Councillor Buckley, for his question. Just on the first part of his question, he is aware, as well as I am, about the work Essex County Council and the local highways panel have done with our encouragement around schools, which has included railings, lines, and other measures. Just to mention a few of the schools: Abacus, Beauchamps, North Crescent, Mount Road, Wickford Primary, and also the Safer School Streets initiative, which he was very much behind, but I was happy to support his leader on that. Moving back to Wickford Primary, my understanding of the events was the councillor for that district ward, Councillor Shields, who is a reform councillor, visited the school, of which he has every right to do so, and the issue of parking came up in the conversation with the head. I then read on Facebook that Councillor Genet, a Reform colleague from Basildon, why he wants to interfere with Wickford, I don't know, and Councillor Shields were going to visit the school on the Friday, is my understanding, and talk to the parents about parking. This did not happen, mainly due to the, I thought it was a courageous thing to do. Those of us who have gone outside of schools and spoken to parents about parking and guarantee you will have, despite you will have a robust response from some of the parents. But this did not happen due to the intervention of other local councillors advising against it. Subsequently, again, my understanding was then there was a post by the leader of Basildon highlighting safeguarding issues. I'm not quite sure what those safeguarding children concerns were, but that was then followed up because he hadn't had a response from either the head teacher or the governors, I'm not clear which, that the head teacher should resign. You can only infer because of her communication with a ward member who is a Reform councillor. I can only guess that, or perhaps Councillor Callaghan's and Councillor Genet's ongoing battle, it seems. But I would just like to point out, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that we all have a responsibility, a moral one, but also within our code of conduct as councillors, that if we have a safeguarding concern, we should and must report that to the statutory responsible authority, which for safeguarding is Essex County Council. And I will point out this is a foundation school, therefore the head is an ECC employee, not an academy. And I can confirm to date, I've received no such correspondence from Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to the leader of the council about this council wasting money. I'd like to draw his attention to the Code of Recommended Practice for Local Authority Publicity, which says in paragraph 16 in particular, local authorities should not use public funds to mount publicity campaigns whose primary purpose is to persuade the public to hold a particular view on a question of policy. At the moment, the County Council is spending a lot of money on Facebook advertising. My Facebook seems to be full of those adverts, and is paid delivery of a leaflet. The leaflet doesn't actually make it clear that it's from the County Council, which seems to me a little dishonest. So how does the leader justify spending all this public money against the Code of Local Authority Publicity?
Well, thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted to speak because having dominated the last full council, I felt pretty redundant at this one. So it's quite good to get on my feet. Look, the most important thing is we're going through the most fantastical change to local government, not seen in our lifetimes like this. Some of us were around in 74, but not like this. It is important that all residents of Essex have the chance to understand what we are proposing. I'm sure those you're referring to, the 3 case, those who are doing the 4 and the 5 case have similar publicity going around at the moment. I'm sure they do. And if they're not, then they're not doing their job properly in terms of informing. So I'm answering the question. Would you like me to speak? Would you like to speak again? I thought so. Right. Okay. So the answer is it is our job to inform people what it is we're intending to do, why we're intending to do it, and what that outcome is. At some stage in the not too distant future, residents will be consulted about these. They need to know what it is they're being consulted upon. When councils are doing their job properly, people should have no real desire to contact councils. The job's running well, it's all going brilliantly well, and the services are being delivered. They will contact us when things go wrong. So councils should not interfere in people's lives on a daily basis. But on this, we are asking them to understand something that is fundamentally different about how their services are going to be delivered, why we're doing it, and why we think, along with other district councils, why we think this is the best method. And if you're not doing it with the other cases, I strongly urge you to do so. We are spending taxpayers' money to inform taxpayers of a fundamental change to where their services are delivered. That is good and proper value for money.
On the point of order, he didn't actually address my question, which specifically said, is this not a breach of the local authority code of publicity?
I think if you have an issue with a code of complaint, you should address that separately. I'll allow.
Well,
I'll
I'm
allow
happy to say
to
that that has been addressed by our communications team. But I believe you have done some publicity on the 5 unitary. I'm sure you have in September. If you haven't, then correct me, but I'm sure you have. And perhaps you could tell us the cost of that.
Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually looking at the Chelmsford City Council Facebook page at the moment. It is promoting the 5 unitary council model for Councillor Robinson's benefit. It was posted on the 26th of September.
Point of personal explanation. I said paid advertising. That's what the county council is currently doing. That's not a paid advert. It's what's the word? I can't remember the word. Organic. Thank you.
Well, perhaps then staff work for free at Chelmsford City Council.
Thank you. This should be a question and answer session, not a debate. So I'm going to close this one now and move on to Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions, one for the leader, one for the cabinet member for Highways. And I would like the leader's opinion on this item. I did try to table this as a motion, but my group did not support it. I am dead against the tools of a police state, ID cards that this government is mistakenly introducing. Could the leader, as the leader of the county council, give his views on the possible threat of these horrible ID cards being imposed against the British people?
I think you mean digital ID is what we're referring to, the government's proposing. So, look, if you want my personal view, we haven't discussed it as a cabinet, so I can give my personal view. I first started working for the BBC at the age of 16 and was issued an ID card. I've had an ID card all my life, including coming to councils and everything else. I don't mind people knowing my information, providing it's protected by the government and the way they said they're going to do, whichever government it may be. I would only imagine, it's only my personal view, that if you're worried about your information being leaked for whatever reason or held by other people, then you would have a concern. I don't know the ins and outs, to be absolutely honest with you, and I've not read it properly, so I don't know how invasive it could be. But on the face value of carrying an ID card, I'm wearing one now. So anyone can see who I am. Anyone can get my information on the websites of both this council and at Colchester, and indeed my own private company, and all sorts of things. People can find me, but I don't know the ins and outs of this, so I can't give you a qualified answer. And certainly I can't speak on behalf of my cabinet and my group because we haven't discussed it.
Okay, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My second question is to Councillor Cunningham. I've emailed several times to request one of his highway surgeries with the chairman of the Langdon Hills Estate Residents Association. There is a supporting wall by highway. The pavement is giving way, and I believe, and we're concerned, that this supporting wall will collapse and fall onto the highway. Will you please make a highway surgery for myself and Mrs. Gillian Blake to attend, the chair of the Residents Association, before someone is killed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank Councillor Smith for his question. If he has made that request and identified the problem, that will be logged on the system and a response will be forthcoming. If that hasn't happened, I'll take that away and look at it. But sometimes these problems can be sorted without highway surgeries. I'll see where we are with that. If he still requires a surgery appointment, I'm very happy to meet him. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have a further question?
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just going back to Councillor Ball's previous reply, a point of order and clarification. Councillor Ball stated that Councillor Shields on Basildon Council was the ward member for the area in the school. She's not. She is a member for Wickford Park, and the school is in Wickford Castledon ward. And the reason it's important to clarify, it does beg the question why she was invited to the school. Thank you.
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
As somebody who campaigned in the area just this summer, Wickford Park, Wickford Primary School is in Wickford Park, as is Irvine Hill opposite, as is Market Avenue and Market Road, of which Wickford Primary sits.
Thank you. The last question I have is from Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular issue is addressed to Councillor Cunningham, I'm afraid. And it's outside my division, but I'm going to take one for the team. and for the wider Dengie Peninsula. Councillor Stamp will no doubt support me. It's time for the A132's biennial repairs, I'm afraid. It's the major gateway to the Dengie. It's crumbling again. It's dangerous. We've had accidents on there a couple of weeks ago. I wrote to you a couple of weeks ago. At the very minimum, I believe the speed limit on that needs to be reduced. It's currently a 60-mile-an-hour limit, and it's dangerous. I was actually approached at the weekend by an ambulance medic who said that it's hazardous to do treatment on that road. So if you could arrange perhaps to come and drive it with me, or get one of your team to have a look at it, I would be most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Massey, for that. I'll certainly get an urgent update on that. And if he would still like me to come and join him, very happy to do so. Come meet him on site. Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't got indications of any more questions, so that brings us more to an end. So I think I'd like to thank everybody for their support today. Apologies for the breakdown in the systems. Jimi Hendrix was a mentor of mine. Well, not a mentor, but he was good at controlling feedback. I don't think we are, but he could make some music with it. Can I just ask you to make sure that you have all your personal belongings with you, and please don't leave any rubbish or papers in the chamber. I'd like to wish you all a safe journey home, and thank you very much for a jolly good meeting.